Hey guys, welcome to part 5 of What If Naruto Was Adopted by Hyuga Clan. If you enjoy the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos, and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 28. Chunin Exams Arc. The second match. Naruto created a cloud of dust when he landed, having jumped down from the waiting room into the ring. The audience remained rather silent, and their cheers only started when Neji walked in. Obviously, the majority of the audience expected much from the Hyuga Prodigy, and expected little from the unknown Uzumaki. Though, those from Konoha mostly wanted him to lose. They would even cheer if the Hyuga managed to kill the boy. Hinata and Kiba were quite annoyed by the talk they heard around them. Most suspected Naruto had just been lucky during the preliminaries, and that he would face his death against the elite Neji. They expected Neji to be one of the people who had a large chance to win the tournament, along with Sasuke and Gaara. Leave them be, Haruki said, seeing both of them grimace. They'll see what Naruto can do, and then they will regret their past actions. Truthfully, I hope that a lot of people will make bets against Naruto. He grinned. His former sensei seems to have placed quite a large bet on him, Akko remarked. You know, that cute one with the scar, she smiled. Did you apologize? Naruto demanded when Neji stood in front of him. What? Neji frowned. Hinata-sama, did you apologize to her? Neji merely answered with a smirk, and Genma quickly stepped between them. I expect you two to comply with the rules. I will not allow either of you to go too far during this fight. It won't be a fight, Naruto answered ominously. This will be punishment. Neji couldn't help but be a little disturbed by the almost feral expression on Naruto's face. All the hesitation and doubt which Neji had seen in him before the match had now disappeared. Then there is no need for me to hold back either. Begin. Genma shouted. Good luck Naruto-kun, Hinata whispered, while she felt as if her heart had moved to her throat. Please be strong. Show Konoha your strength. She finished her whispered prayer. There was no doubt in her mind that Naruto would defeat Neji. But right now, that was not her concern. There were bigger things at stake. She knew full well that Naruto's fate in Konoha depended on his performance today. In the best case, he could change a lot of injustice, but in the worst case, what if people saw their worst fears confirmed? Gentle fist style. 8 trigrams 64 palms, Neji snarled, the moment Genma moved away from them. Naruto did not yet have the time to response, as he registered the first hits. Exactly like Neji had planned, since he knew he would be in a disadvantage when Naruto had the time to deploy his clones and create seals. 2 hands. 4 hands. 8 hands. Neji shouted, while Naruto felt the same number of hits on his body. 16 hands. 32 hands. Neji moved closer, slightly panted from the explosive action. 64 hands. The audience held their breaths while Naruto fell backwards. Neji jumped forward when Naruto crouched on his knees, unable to get up. Seems like the main house's dog is down, Neji smirked, grabbing Naruto's collar. No matter how much chakra you have, you can't do a thing when I close all of your tenketsu at once. Hiashi clenched his fist, and his entire family moved back as his anger radiated from the head of their clan. Unforgivable. Not only did Hisashi break the rules by teaching this boy techniques which are restricted to the main house, the brat also showed them in broad daylight. This is outrageous. Such an insult to the main house's honor will not be tolerated. Not by my brother. Not by anyone. Hitomi shook her head as she looked at Hisashi. The man had crossed the line. Not only had he broken the laws by teaching techniques which were restricted to only the main house, Neji had even shown them publicly, as a humiliation to the main house. A sign that the branch was equal. Hiashi had always been very tolerant towards his somewhat defiant brother, but now Hisashi had made a mistake. He had gone too far. Not even Hitomi could save him now. You foolish man. Why did you have to do something like this? Why would you force your own brother to persecute the branch even further? Wondering why her parents were so tense, Hanabi turned to look at the fight again. Neji was a genius of their clan, even if he was merely from the inferior branch family, so it was to be expected he could handle someone as lowly as that Uzumaki with little trouble. After all, the Uzumaki was as good as clanless. And everyone knew that clanless shinobi were inferior to proper shinobi who were the products of the strongest bloodlines. I wonder why my weak sister never realizes this. Perhaps her weakness even extends itself to her brain, Hanabi considered. It must be, or else she would never be so focused on this loser. All those big words of yours, beating me, becoming Hokage. Neji laughed after he spitted out those words. You are merely an idiot who cannot even see his own reality. You will never become Hokage. That is not your destiny. People must live within their own unchangeable flow. Only one. The only destiny that every person shares is death. Neji pushed Naruto away. And that's why I told you this was useless, Neji smirked. You were destined to lose to me. You still think that? Naruto grinned, with a drop of blood on his chin. You may have those eyes, but no one can understand everything. That's why I told you to stop automatically deciding things. Some things lie beyond your understanding, Neji. You can't use chakra, and you're bleeding all over the place, Neji retorted with a confident smile. You lost. You never had any. Naruto laughed. Can't use my chakra. Poor Neji. Are you truly that blind? Neji looked, and saw the chakra burst from Naruto. How? Did you actually think you could stop me, Neji? Naruto chuckled. Seriously, do you even know how easy is it to create chakra storage seals? All I needed to do is to program it in such a way that it would shake up my chakra pathway system a bit, in the unlikely even you managed to block all of my tenketsu. That's impossible. Even if that happened, the tenketsu were closed. Apparently it's not impossible. I just did it. Naruto frowned. Besides, you didn't think I would let you perish without publicly humiliating you and your clan first, did you? Neji glared, and started to approach Naruto again. Though the casual way in which Naruto announced his impending death disturbed the Hyuga prodigy. What? You expected me to not to come up with a way to prevent you from closing off all the tenketsu in my body. You really should stop underestimating your opponents. Damn, genius or not, that a rather stupid move, Naruto said, speaking as if he was discussing the weather. So, last chance. Do you still refuse to apologize to Hinata-sama? As Neji dropped into his fighting stance, Naruto shook his head. Stubborn fool, why not just forfeit while you can still save your precious pride? Ah well, at least I fulfilled my promise. Naruto made some quick hand seal and 9 clones appeared. Go test him, but don't waste too much chakra, right guys? All 9 clones nodded, and jumped away from Naruto. He used that seal against the Jukin. Jiraiya massaged his own forehead. Damn, I just thought he was down. When did he? That's rather ingenious, Hiruzen frowned. Though I am sure the Hyuga clan will not be very happy about his. Even though I highly doubt anyone but him can pull it off. Forcibly opening the tenketsu is supposed to be impossible. Lethal, even. The Kazekage nodded, but did not avert his eyes from the match, completely focusing on the match which even turned out to surprise shinobi of their caliber. Truly surprising that a mere genin could do something like that, the Mizukage admitted, blinking her eyes. Even I would have fallen for that one. Haku wasn't kidding when he talked about this boy. It's still not too late to stop this, you know, one of the Bunshin remarked. With Gaara in the next round, it would be preferable to waste as little chakra as possible. And it's not like you have a chance anyway, another clone continued. A third clone laughed. Now that would have been a great joke. You really think that? Neji grimaced. Sure, you may be good, but you are only a human, the original Naruto frowned, while he made it himself comfortable by sitting down on the ground. Though minor, he could use some time to let his injuries heal. All that crap about fate and destiny, you know nothing about me. Screw destiny. You only see your own pain and suffering. And because of that, you will lose. And you already knew that, or else you wouldn't have pulled of such a big move right at the start. He sure looks desperate, the first clone chuckled. Scared Hyuga always look so amusing. Perhaps that some pain will open those blind eyes of yours, the second clone smirked. Would be a shame if you died without ever have seen the truth. Neji couldn't hold his anger back any longer, and lashed forward at the clone. The original Naruto erected a barrier around him, and watched leisurely as his clones engaged Neji. so he's really faster than Hinata-sama. An advantage in reach. Also more strength, though in comparison he is not as agile. Much more straightforward. Though, that may also be because of his anger, Naruto mused, somewhat disappointed because of the promises he had made. When Neji managed to take down 7 of the 9 clones, Naruto created 5 new ones. He had seen that Neji was careful not to touch the clone when attacking them, always keeping a layer of chakra between his own body and that of the clone. That was not something that surprised Naruto a lot. After all, Neji had seen how Lee was beaten by the clones with weight seals. Still, Naruto had yet to show what he could do. The 5 new Bunshin spread, and surrounded Neji. Futon. Rinkuden, they shouted. Neji jumped back, avoiding the several wind bullets, and using chakra to break through those that would hit him. Though, Neji was not able to avoid a minor cut on his hand, as the sharp and thin chakra pierced his defense. Damn, Neji mumbled, noticing that the 5 clones had surrounded him again, while the remaining 2 of the first batch now charged at him. Naruto was a bit surprised that the supposed genius allowed himself to be surrounded so easily. Not that the previous attack was lethal, as he had used far too little chakra for that, but still. What is he hiding? Naruto pondered. With 5 fireballs coming at him, and the 2 annoying clones trying to grab him, Neji had only one option left. Hakusho Kaden. He barked, created an impenetrable and spinning dome of chakra around him. Naruto frowned as he saw his 2 clones getting dispelled after they were thrown back, and the fireballs failed to do any damage. He narrowed his eyes as he thought of a way to break that defense. He pushed chakra from his entire body, and then started spinning. With that Byakugan of his, he would block any attack from all directions, Naruto sighed. Though, that little trick must have consumed quite some chakra, just look at him. He's already panting slightly. Still, it's a nice surprise to see something new like this. Naruto created 3 new clones, and as they moved forward the other 5 jumped back. Seeing Neji frown at the new clones, Naruto smirked. Try blocking this one, Mr. Genius. Neji's eyes widened as he saw the concentrated chakra on the new clones, and was barely fast enough to create another sphere to defend against 3 great explosions. The weight seal isn't the only one which I can use in combination with my Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, Naruto said lazily, when the smoke around the disheveled Neji lifted. Though, these Bunshin can only use the infernal seal on a quarter of its real strength. Forfeit now, Neji. Never. Neji shouted with a furious expression. Again, he was forced to use the Kaden to block the explosions from the 5 remaining Kage Bunshin which now jumped at him. No, Naruto, don't do this, Hinata whispered, her eyes wide. He seems to be winning quite easily, Kiba frowned, not understanding his teammate's concern. I didn't want to. I asked him not to kill, Hinata started, before she sighed in relief as her cousin appeared again. I'll show the main family. Neji coughed, left on his knees due to the violent explosions. You know, I had just been planning to use my clones to beat you. I thought that would be enough of a humiliation for you, to know that I can defeat you without even lifting my own fingers at you, Naruto said as he casually walked over. Genma looked curiously, and saw he did not yet have to end the match. Yet. I know about that seal on your head, Naruto continued, with a cold and unforgiving tone. The ones which the main family used to enslave the branch. To tell you the truth, I think they are repulsive. But I do not see any difference in the way the branch reacts. Blind hatred is no answer. You merely give them the excuse to continue like that, and to repress you even further. You idiots lower yourself to their level. Neji grimaced, and stood up. Still looking defiantly. What do you know about anything? He snarled. Enough! Naruto exclaimed as he kicked the Hyuga down. This time, his expression changed completely, allowing his rage to surface. I know more about being cursed by seals than you would even know. But all of that does not matter now. Naruto lunged forward and punched Neji in the gut. It doesn't matter what reasons you think you had, Hinata-sama did nothing wrong against you. Just like she never wanted to harm the branch. But you failed to see. She could just have activated that seal on that empty head of yours, and executed you on the spot, but she did not. She, Naruto said as he punched Neji again. Begged me, another hit. Not to kill you. Neji fell over after the last hit, and Naruto walked away. Neji stood up, a bit unsteady due to the hits he had taken, and looked at Naruto. What? He asked, as a blood flowed from the corner of his mouth. Why would she? I've sworn to her that I would kill you. Naruto looked Neji in the eyes. The Hyuga winced back as he looked into the now crimson eyes that burned with a rage that simply was not humane anymore. But she begged me to break my word. I wanted to rip you apart. For your arrogance. Your cowardice. I wanted to shatter your arms. Tear out your eyes. Hinata couldn't help it. She had no part in what was done to you and every other member of the branch. She hates it as much as you do, and still you tried to kill her. No. Naruto growled. I will never forgive you for that. Naruto's hands ignited and the flames around his fists turned into claws. Neji paled as he realized the truth. You. He exclaimed, as he tried to back away. But Neji had no chance. One of the fiery claws flew forward and ripped Neji's head protector away. Naruto dashed forward and his claws tore at Neji's chest, the flames immediately scorching and closed the wounds, leaving scars that would never go away. Neji trembled. Trembling because of the blinding pain. But even more, trembling because of this fear. How could his opponent have such levels of chakra? How could it have been him? You said that death was my fate. Now I see how you could say that, Neji thought as Naruto again moved forward. Crippled by the pain, Neji couldn't even stand anymore. There was no way out. Down on his knees, he was humiliated in front of everyone. I'm going to die. Flashed through his head. Never forget that you owe Hinata-sama your life, Naruto growled with a deep and inhuman voice. Your life, and your freedom, Naruto said as he put his other hand on Neji's forehead, burning away his seal. Anything Neji had called pain before paled in comparison to this. As he felt the skin melt, the Hyuga prodigy lost his consciousness, screaming in pain. In my absence, you shall take my place. Naruto whispered. Or you will die. The audience screamed in shock as Genma jumped forward to catch Neji. The Jonin shouted at Naruto, scolding him for the excessive violence. Naruto merely shrugged. I've won the match, haven't I? He said coldly. Genma could not deny that, so Naruto walked back to the waiting room, the audience left speechless. The genius from the Hyuga, the strongest clan of Konoha, was disposed of as if he was a mere academy student. He had been nothing to Naruto. Even Rock Lee was pale and speechless. That was a bit violent. Choji frowned. Doesn't quite seem like Naruto at all. How much was Naruto holding back against me? Lee whispered. Who knows how strong that guy is, Sakura sneered. You see what he did. He is just like that Gaara. They are monsters, not like any normal genin. Little did she know about how right she actually was. As Naruto walked up the stairs, he heard the audience starting to stir again. Now they've seen. Naruto sighed. And what will they do next? It doesn't matter anymore. I won't become like Neji. No matter what they do to me, I refuse to hate them because of it. If I have to follow an example, it will be that of Hinata. She had the strength to forgive Neji, she knew how misguided he was. I'll never give in to this weakness again, hatred only breeds more hatred. Even if I have to break my own word, I will have to do the right thing. Even if that means I have to go against my own biases. I will no longer spend my days hating those who hate me. I will be better than them. And I'll show them all. Jiraiya swallowed before he spoke. He defeated Neji, and did not use its chakra. He softly spoke to his Hokage. Hiruzen nodded. But this display. He did not make it any better for himself, he whispered back. The Mizukage looked curiously at them, while the Kazekage was engaged in a whispering discussion with one of his guards. Mei realized that between the two of them, Naruto had shown far more skill and restraint than Gaara had in the first match, as if Gaara relied much more on the demon inside him. With that skill in the Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, as well as both Futon and Kaden, this Naruto will become far more dangerous than even Zabuza expected. And what truly scares me is that he was still holding back. That jutsu. Is Naruto-kun truly the one who? Hinata turned at Haruki, who bowed his head. Is he? Yes, he said with a soft and sad tone. What? Kiba frowned, looking at the three Hyuga who each had a different expression on their face. Hinata was shocked by something, Haruki seemed sad as if regretted something, while Akko had a fierce and almost proud expression. What's going on? Naruto won, right? You don't understand. Blunderhead two-leg, she said on an unusual serious tone. Konoha will not understand, but the Hyuga clan will be shaken to its core. They will be petrified now. They should be. Chapter 29. Tears from the past. This. So he is the one who, you knew this. Hiyashi asked his wife, upon seeing her expression. I had suspected that it was him, yes, Hitomi admitted. I told you before. We owe that boy a debt we can never repay. So why did he? They were after Hinata, Hiyashi guessed before finishing his sentence. Yes, I assume they were. It would make sense. They would be after her, or after Hanabi, or me. I do not know for sure. He doesn't talk about it, and I have never asked. You know how he is. But surely you could have. Even to my eyes, that boy is an enigma. He is quite competent in hiding himself, in case you did not notice that up till now. But Haruki and Akko, they have to know about this. Hiyashi frowned, wondering if they had betrayed the clan. My cousin is loyal to that boy, Hiyashi, Hitomi warned him. The same goes for her. I suspect she got involved in a plot that was thwarted by Naruto. We know the boy can sense malice, so his trust in her should be sufficient, right? Hiyashi grimaced, and massaged his forehead. Too many things happened all at once. He would question Naruto once this exam was over, but first he needed to focus on his brother. Hazashi's behavior could not be left without repercussions. Hiyashi could never allow this kind of transgressions. Hey, what is going on? Kiba was completely confused, as were Karen and Akamaru, who whined softly. Hinata had burst into tears for some reason they could not understand. There are a few things about Naruto that you should know now, Haruki said with a grim expression, and similar voice. First of all, how he entered the Hyuga clan, because he saved Hinata-sama's life. I heard a few things about that, yes, Kiba frowned. She was kidnapped when she was but a child, he added when he saw Karen's look. Naruto somehow helped saving her. Because of that, the Hyuga clan allowed Naruto to stay on the Hyuga complex, rather than sending him back to the orphanage he came from. Yes, Haruki nodded. That's the gist of it. But what you probably do not know is that Naruto always felt like it was Hinata who saved him. Because he met her, he escaped the orphanages, and found a safe haven from all the hatred he was confronted with here in Konoha. His loyalty. Akko continued when Haruki paused, as he did not know how to continue. Hinata-sama's position within the clan is a point of conflict. Many believe she is not suitable as the next head, especially the conservatives who see her mother's influence in her. That is why there had been a few accidents. Well, over the years there were a few incidents, but the last 2 years nothing really happened. Nothing happened to Hinata-sama, Haruki continued with a frown, but there were some other people in our clan that disappeared, or found dead. All of the dead shared one common characteristic. They suffered horrible burns and they all had the throats torn open, as if some wild animal had clawed at their bodies. Wait, you don't want to say that, Kiba uttered. Those blazing claws. Naruto's jutsu. Is he? Nearly 2 years ago, Akko cut him off. A member of the main house forced me to add something to Hinata-sama's food, Akko sighed. That man used my seal to force me to obey, and even though I knew it was wrong I had to do it, because he threatened to kill my brother, who guarded Hinata-sama. That is why they used me, because Ko would never have suspected me. But Naruto interfered. He killed the man, and turned to me with red eyes. I thought I was going to die, just like that man from the main family. There was so much anger in those eyes. I knew I would die, just like how others from the branch had disappeared before. But Naruto said I was not to be blamed. That I was innocent. He made me swear that I would never tell anyone about this, unless he revealed it himself. A single tear dripped from Akko's cheek. And now he has shown the world his claws. Why did he never? Why did Naruto-kun never tell anyone? Hinata asked with a quivering voice. He knew that these incidents were related, that it would be better if he remained in the shadows. Naruto knew he did not have the power to confront those who intended to hurt you directly, Haruki sighed. He was too weak back then. But apparently he thinks things have changed. I warned him, Back when I found out. I saw him, his arms drenched in blood. I knew that people would not believe him, because of his burden. Especially when people of much greater influence and reputation were involved. Then why? Why did he kill? He didn't kill anyone who did not deserve it, Akko said sharply. Calm down, Akko, Haruki gestured. Naruto never killed for the glory of it. He lived his life alone, so he never felt any reason to boast about his actions. I do not even know how many times he intervened. He always refused to talk about it. I know that several people have been found murdered, and even more have disappeared without a trace. He did that. Why? How did he get away? Kiba frowned. That stealth seal of his. Yes, Haruki nodded. No one ever saw him coming because of the stealth seal. That is also how he found out about the various schemes. But still, I made him promise not to do anything unless it was to save lives. Well, your life that was, Hinata-sama. Why me? Hinata sniffed. Why? Naruto has always faced injustice, Akko frowned. So much that he cannot tolerate it any longer when he sees others suffering the same fate. He says it doesn't bother him how people treat him, that he doesn't expect anything from others. But you all know better. Even though he never really talks about how he feels. Kiba nodded slowly, as he recalled how Naruto began to change after it was revealed who he really was. The silent and withdrawn boy had shown more of his gentle and friendly side. Even though Kiba was still thoroughly disturbed by the ease at which Naruto killed his opponents. They all had been prepared to take lives, during their education on the academy, but actually killing someone. Small wonder Naruto was hardly disturbed by it, if he had already been fighting like this long before he even finished the academy. While the others were playing, pretending to be ninja, Naruto had been doing the real thing. I still don't get it. Why Hinata? Why is she a target? Kiba grimaced. There is a large gap between the main house and the branch. While they are related in blood, one group rules over the other, and the latter act as little more than servants or slaves. We are bound by the seals that were put on her foreheads, so we are at the mercy of those who can invoke it, Haruki explained. With a single command an elder of the clan could kill us, Akko said with her annoyance clearly visible. They abuse that power often enough, and the branch hates them for that. That hatred has only grown through the generations, while the answer of the main house has always been the same: increase their oppression. What does this have to do with it? Karen asks. Hitomi-sama. She is the one who keeps Hiyashi-sama more lenient. That is why some of the elders wish her to die, but they are not able to touch her that easily. No one can touch Hitomi, without incurring the wrath of her husband. So they turn to the heir, the girl who resembles her mother so much, Haruki said harshly. Hinata looked up with her teary eyes. You are as gentle as she always was, Haruki smiled gently, as he rummaged through her hair. The elders fear that more than anything. If you assumed your righteous position, they believe you would not allow the current system to remain. Your rule would destroy the foundation of their power, and would leave them unprotected against the branch's hatred. But when they look at your sister, they see the same sternness as Hiyashi-sama often displays. And sadly, the branch is too stupid to see what is going on, and most are just consumed by a blind hatred at all those who do not have their heads marked. Like Neji, Akko added. They can't help it, Hinata said. Neji is a victim, just like, that's why. That's why I asked Naruto-kun not to kill him. He said he wanted to. She stammered. When he visited me in the hospital, he said he had sworn to kill Neji, in order to take revenge for what Neji had done to me. And you stopped him, Haruki said gently. I asked him to. He promised me he would not kill Neji. Nothing is ever simple with that guy, is it? Kiba sighed, while Akamaru whined. So Naruto was behind all those that went missing or were found dead. I always suspected that they were after Hinata, Hiyashi contemplated, taking the circumstances into account. Though, to think he went that far, did I still feel prejudice because of the Kyuubi no Kitsune? I should not have done that. His skill as a shinobi is far beyond anything I had expected. He toyed with Neji, yet that boy is a true genius, with a potential likely even greater than my own. How often did I not wish for him to be my own son, instead of Hisashi's? The jokes of fate are truly cruel. The perfect heir is just there, but I have no choice but to punish him for breaking our laws, Hiyashi sighed. Brother. Why did you create this mess? Why do you force me into this position? So, Neji's seal is diffused for now. Naruto thought. I should have infused sufficient chakra to make it last for a few years. Good thing I caught those idiots from the branch over the years. Single quote. Naruto grimaced. On several occasions, he had captured members of the branch who tried to harm Hinata. Because of the complexity, and the drastic consequences of failure, it had taken Naruto several attempts before he could alter the cursed seal without having the subject die. It still, however, required an extremely painful method, but at least they lived. If things went according to plan, Neji would be free from the grasp of the main family, at least for as long as Naruto's chakra lasted. Naruto doubted he could fully remove the cursed seal, at least not without either killing or permanently blinding the branch member. And not when he did not have access to the methods the Hyuga used to seal their branch members. But this temporary freedom was better than nothing. After all, if Naruto had to leave Konoha with Jiraiya, Hinata was left unguarded. And Neji was skilled enough to do the job. And he would be the last one anyone expected to be her guard. Well, not that Naruto trusted Neji, in the contrary. But Naruto knew one thing. Neji desired to be free from the branch. He desired that more than anything. And now, Naruto offered him two paths where he could gain freedom. First of all, if Hinata would become head of the Hyuga clan, Naruto believed that she would dismantle the entire cursed seal system. Secondly, as long as Naruto was willing to add chakra into Neji's now broken seal, their seal would not work. And as an added bonus, Naruto believed that it would be impossible for the main family to apply a new seal, because the old one was technically still there, even if Naruto broke it. Though I suppose it would be too optimistic to believe that the branch might side with Hinata. Or me, Naruto considered, as he once again thought about the consequences. I might offer the branch a way out, but I bet that there aren't that many people who want to be burned that way. Besides, the main might buy it if I said that busting Neji's seal was an accident, as I merely wanted to punish him. But if they knew I was deliberately tampering with the seal, I bet they wouldn't be all too happy. Naruto chuckled darkly. Ah well. First I have to wait and see if Neji is smart enough to accept my offer, Naruto mumbled. Can always kill him if he refuses. After all, I honored Hinata's request by not killing him today. But that request does not forbid me to possibly honor my own promise by killing him later, if necessary. Naruto considered, feeling that the Kyuubi was amused by Naruto's way of thinking. Whatever the Kyuubi may have been, Naruto knew it would not tolerate evil to exist. Perhaps it doesn't want the competition, Naruto smirked. You two legs should have paid more attention to the battle, she sighed after the group had been discussing Naruto's actions for a while, mostly ignoring what happened down below. That bun hair two-leg pushed the cloaky two-leg into a corner. Wait. Bun hair. Who? Kiba frowned. You mean Tenten. Did she push Shino? Damn, Shino is quite good, so that's no easy feat. Cloaky was forced to create some kind of bug barrier around him, to avoid being hit by Bun Girl's weapons, the cat continued. Bun two-leg pulled out a mace. And if I'm not mistaken she used Whisker two-leg's seal on that thing. She did, Haruki nodded. She applied the weight seal on that mace, and knocked Shino out. Shino lost. Hinata blinked. Not really, the cat shook her head. It was a draw. Bun two-leg had her chakra sucked dry during the fight, and she only used the last of her reserves to activate the seal. Bun two-leg fell down when she landed, so they were both unable to continue. Karen sighed. I'm glad I did not have to continue. I wouldn't have had a chance against these people. Have a little faith, loud red two-leg, she rebuked. Anyway, the next match is already in progress. The grumpy two-leg against is it male or female two-leg? HMPF, I can't even see the difference. Neuter two-leg it is. Just like the last time, Haku seemed to prefer keeping his distance from opponents. Sasuke already knew that the boy was a mid-range fighter, but getting close was surprisingly difficult. Sasuke was not too eager to show off the progress he made, not so soon. He knew he needed to hold back something, but this opponent needed to pay for the previous match. Damn, I can't afford to hold back against Haku any longer, Sasuke gritted his teeth. I know Kakashi said to only show my speed when I would face Naruto or Gaara, but this guy. I can't catch him. He's too fast and too nimble. Considering his options, Sasuke decided to go full speed. At first, it seemed to work, as Haku only narrowly managed to avoid Sasuke's attacks. Seems like we have reached the same stalemate, Haku smiled. Hyoten. Demonic ice mirrors. This went as Sasuke had expected, and because of that he was able to jump outside of the dome of ice mirrors. With his Sharingan activated, Sasuke had easily seen the jutsu coming. That all you got? I thought you were faster than that, Sasuke smirked. Haku looked at his opponent and wondered why the Uchiha tried to taunt him like this. Though the boy had certainly improved significantly since the last time they had fought. Certainly enough to justify the use of the demonic ice mirrors again. Previously, it had been more because Haku wanted to speed things up, because Zabuza might have been in need of his assistance. But for some reason, the Uchiha did not seem to be bothered by the jutsu that defeated him so easily last time. Why the confidence? Haku asked calmly. Sasuke smirked, and started his jutsu. Chidori, he said, as he charged at the mirrors nearest to him, and shattered 3 before stepping inside Haku's domain. With his Sharingan active, he had seen how much chakra Haku had expended on the mirrors. And now it was all wasted, and Sasuke had the initiative. Haku stepped out of one of the nearby mirrors and frowned when he saw the confident expression on Sasuke's face. You know, last time, I did not even fight you with the intent to kill, so I do not understand why you think you've won with just that. Haku casually walked towards Sasuke. Hyoten. Frozen mist, he said. With his Sharingan still active, Sasuke saw the mirrors shatter and dissolve, spreading through the air. The moment he charged forward to attack Haku, the mist in front of the boy tightened up and formed a dome of ice protecting. Sasuke smirked. As if such a stupid thing will stop me. Throwing out a large fireball, Sasuke charged at the dome. Only for the dome to shatter in pieces, revealing that Haku had vanished. What the? Sasuke mumbled, looking around him in order to find his opponent. But the frozen mist also spread out chakra, effectively blocking Sasuke's view, as his Sharingan was rendered useless. Did you think I would just wait for you to attack me? Haku's voice sounded, somewhere from the mist. You attack head-on, but don't seem to really have the patience to think of a proper strategy. I am actually disappointed that the rumored Uchiha genius is not capable of more than this. I could understand the first time you lost, considering my advantage. But this time, you knew your enemy. Shut up, Sasuke roared. Kaden. Hosenka no Jutsu. Launching a volley of smaller fireballs, Sasuke tried to rip apart the mist. But it was pointless. Haku sighed and simply stepped forward, revealing his position. You know, you really are stronger than I am, and still you are losing like this. Sasuke's answer was performing the Chidori. Haku shook his head as he saw Sasuke, with his Chidori in front of him, charge right at him. With a single gesture, Haku created a single mirror in front of himself. Thinking Haku was cowering behind such a weak defense, Sasuke smirked and charged on. Falling right into the mirror. This had not been a mirror like the one Haku had used before, ones which only Haku could enter, but rather one that everyone could enter or leave. Well, if they had Haku's permission. And with permission, Sasuke had entered the mirror. Proud fool, Haku whispered, looking at the trapped Uchiha. But this jutsu drains too much of my chakra to sustain it much longer. Whatever he may be, his chakra reserves certainly exceed my own by a large margin. Though, not nearly as much as Naruto-san. Still, if I continue this too long, he will break free. As such, Haku turned the mirror, created another set of icy Senbon, and released Sasuke. Disoriented, Sasuke barely had the time to stand up, before Haku hit him with his Senbon. Paralyzed, Sasuke fell down. Beaten again. Sakura gasped for air when she saw Haku form dozens of icy Senbons and pierce the trapped Sasuke. She could not fathom that the Sasuke would lose. Especially not to another genin. She ignored her inner voice which pointed at Naruto being stronger, and apologized to Lee and Choji before she ran down to the infirmary. Sure, she knew Haku had won last time, but Sakura had believed that Sasuke had been tricked somehow. Well, not that she knew the details, because he pertinently refused to talk about that day. Surely, Sasuke will be happy to see me, she thought. Though, any other would have warned her to stay away from the wounded Uchiha. Because, it would be his pride that was wounded the most, after being defeated in front of everyone. That was unexpected, Shikamaru groaned. Damn it, now I have to go down there. Naruto looked at the lazy genin, the only one who dared to get close to him after he had walked up. Though Gaara had not stopped staring at him, but his siblings stood between them. Perhaps, but Haku defeated Sasuke before, Naruto shrugged. I'd say Sasuke has grown quite a lot, to be able to push Haku this much. As for that puppet guy, well, the easiest method seems to be to aim at the guy himself, not at his puppets. He doesn't seem the taijutsu kind of guy. I know that, Shikamaru grimaced. But thanks anyway, he sighed. Damn it, all you guys put up amazing fights, and now they expect something like that from someone as lame as me too. We all have different talents. It's not like only the winner gets promoted, right? Just impress the old man. Naruto patted Shikamaru on his shoulder. And don't forget that it would be even more troublesome if you had to take this exam a second time, Naruto chuckled, causing the lazy genin to scowl. The next match will be between Kankuro of Sunagakure and Nara Shikamaru of Konoha, Genma announced, wondering why they had not shown up yet. Report down here in 2 minutes, or you'll be disqualified according to the standard procedures. Shikamaru turned and started to walk to the stairs when Kankuro spoke up. I forfeit the match, he shouted at Genma. My puppets got damaged during the preliminaries, and I did not have the chance to properly repair them. Naruto looked at the painted genin. He did not have the Byakugan, but he didn't need it to see that Kankuro was lying. This was not the type of guy who couldn't repair his tools if he had a whole month of time to do it. This guy was no amateur, but rather someone completely obsessed with his puppets. There had to be another reason why forfeited. What is Sunagakure planning? He frowned. Shikamaru had similar thoughts, and he looked at Naruto who answered his suspicions. This isn't good, the blonde whispered. Shikamaru nodded and turned towards Ino, who now had her match against the other Sand sibling, Temari. Be careful, he warned Ino as she passed by. He knew she was happy to face Temari, so she could avenge Choji, but he agreed with Naruto. Something did not add up. The strange actions from Naruto. The preparations from nearly all the Jonin in our village who seemed to expect something to happen. That psychopath Gaara. And now this guy who forfeits for some implausible reason. What is Sunagakure planning to do? Start. Genma shouted. Temari looked at her opponent and smiled. Too easy. They should have given me a proper opponent, she sneered as she fully opened her war fan. Knowing that the opponent had seen her strongest jutsu, and that the older Kunoichi was also likely stronger at taijutsu, Ino leapt backwards, but was too late. Futon. Kazakiri no Jutsu. Was the last she heard before a giant wave of wind blew her away. Genma ended the match after the unconscious Ino slipped down from the wall in which she had crashed. Whoa, Shikamaru exclaimed with his eyes wide open. That was rather vicious, Naruto frowned. Damn, fighting her would be rather troublesome, don't you think? He added sarcastically, looking at Shikamaru. Laugh it out, Shikamaru replied with an exasperated tone, knowing he had to face her in the next round. Damn, I think I could just as well forfeit, like you. Who ever said that I would forfeit? Naruto smirked. But the Jonin said. I know, Naruto nodded. But it's not like I care. You should be careful though, even you, Uzumaki-san, Haku said as he walked towards them. Gaara had already disappeared in a cloud of said, reappearing down on the ground. Sabaku no Gaara will be no ordinary opponent. Naruto stretched out, and smiled a bit. Thanks for your concern Haku, but I'll probably be fine. I'm not that ordinary either. He looked around and gestured him and Shikamaru to get closer. I would not be surprised if Sunagakure does something strange once the match is on its way. You both should be careful, and if it is necessary, make sure that Temari and Kankuro do not try to help them, Naruto whispered to Haku and Shikamaru. I know you're not from Konoha, Haku, but I trust you would aid us. After all, Miss Mizukage wanted to improve the relations between Konoha and Kiri. I know, Haku whispered back. Mizukage-sama has issued her orders regarding the situation. And about Tamari. It might be that she does not want to attack you. But make sure she doesn't aid the ones attacking Konoha. Oh no. Hinata paled when she saw Gaara appear on the floor. Next match, N Naruto-kun. So that is Sabaku no Gaara. Haruki was impressed, after he shortly activated his Byakugan, something which he rarely did these days, as his tormented body could hardly sustain it. No wonder Naruto was so agitated. Kurenai-sensei said he had a plan, Kiba frowned. But what could he do? Naruto is not as fast as that Kumo girl earlier. We must believe in him, Akko said. No matter how strong this Gaara is, Naruto will win. Hinata nodded, but couldn't help but feeling worried. She knew that only Gaara could fight Naruto as an equal. As Naruto walked down the stairs, he met Tamari. Tamari-san. Don't look so worried, he frowned. How could I not be worried? I've seen Gaara. I know what he can do. She stood there and appeared much more fragile than Naruto had ever seen her up till now. And she hides just as much as I do, Naruto realized, when he considered that her confident attitude was just an act. If you want to help me, make sure no one interferes. I'm sure neither the Kazekage nor Orochimaru give a crap about Gaara's well-being, or they would never have put him here. He looked at the girl's expression and knew his fears were right. I see. When do you guys plan to make your move? Naruto sighed. I don't know. We only heard yesterday. Temari's voice nearly broke. Father. He just plans to use Gaara as a weapon. As something disposable. How could he? You guys are shinobi, Naruto stated. While Gaara and I are Jinchuriki. But these are just words, pointing at the fact that other people want to use us as tools. I'd say we are all human beings, with the right to make up our own minds. I don't want to be seen as a monster, or a tool. And I bet you don't want to get your little brother killed. Tamari shook her head. No matter what he is, Gaara is still my little brother. Then make the right choice, Naruto said, as he turned away to walk down. He knew he would risk his life, but at least it would be the right thing to do. Whether it is killing or being killed. Life only has meaning when we do the right thing. Just like Haku said, we can only be truly strong when we protect what we hold dear. Naruto looked down at his stomach when he felt the Kyuubi's agitation. And with you, we have an 8-tail advantage, Naruto smirked. Chapter 30. Sabaku no Gaara. He clenched his fists as he saw the boy walk forward. Hang in there, kid, Jiraiya whispered. Hiruzen looked at him, and felt sympathy for his former student. Naruto had to take an awful risk, while no one could help him. Not without causing some kind of incident with Tsunagaku. Yet, Jiraiya felt proud. There he was, his student, his godson, walking up towards an opponent that frightened even many of the Jonin, yet there was not a shred of fear to be seen on Naruto. His green kimono made it obvious to most of the people in Konoha that he was Jiraiya's student, the only one with similar clothing. Yet Naruto had given it his own feeling, by adding symbols of his clan and Konoha to the shoulders, and his should guards and hand guards. In Jiraiya's eyes, the only thing that was missing was a good-looking cloak. But he knew that the boy would earn his own cloak soon enough, once he started training under Fukasaku and the other toads. The kid has the looks, now all he needs to do is prove himself, he mumbled to himself. Don't look so upset. Even Dad has faith in the kid, Asuma tried to comfort Kurenai, who looked worried as her student had to face Gaara. Perhaps. I know Naruto hides much of his ability, but this Gaara. He worries me. They stood at the edge, watching over the audience as most Jonin had their guard duties assigned to them. Luckily, Hiruzen had been very considerate and gave those whose students participated in the finals a place in the arena. Several meters from both Jonin, Lee and Choji discussed the upcoming match. I told you. Shikamaru said Naruto would win. Choji frowned, as he seemingly tried to create a new record for the quickest consumption of a bag of snacks. Not that he would easily beat the record set by his grandfather, though. I know Naruto-san is strong. But his opponent is Gaara, and he gives me the creeps, Lee admitted. By the way, why is Sakura-chan so unyouthful towards Naruto-san? Beats me, Choji shrugged. She never hid her dislike of him, even at the academy. I mean, at times she even tried to hit him, even if he didn't do anything to her. But after he left Team 7, Ino once mentioned Naruto did something bad when they were at a mission abroad, but she couldn't figure out what. You think she is angry that he left? Maybe, but she seems rather scared of him, if you ask me. Not that I know why. Naruto may not be the social kind of guy, but he's actually quite a friendly once you get to know him. Lee's giant brows dived down as he tried to figure out what was going on. A great many people had been hoping for Naruto to lose, when he had his match against Neji. The amount of hatred towards Naruto was unreasonable, even if Neji was from one of the most prominent clans of Konoha. Okay, both of you remember the rules, right? Genma asks, drawing the attention of both Gaara and Naruto. And, usually, I don't have to say this, but in your cases, the fight is bound to the arena itself. If any of you gets outside, you will be disqualified. Naruto frowned, and then nodded. Gaara just stood there, impassively, staring at his opponent. Right then, let the second round begin. Genma announced, before he quickly jumped away from the boys. My lady, Haku signaled, Zabuza whispered as he bowed towards his Mizukage. She sighed. So it is as I had feared. We will stick to the plan. But, my lady, if we... No arguments, Zabuza. I made a promise on behalf of Kurigakure, and I intend to keep that promise. We must do everything for the sake of Kiri, no matter our own wishes. She silently cut him off. You know what to do once it starts. They will never expect it, though. Zabuza nodded and stepped back again. Days like these made him wonder if he made the right choice when he returned to Kurigakure. Tamari, did you see the look on Gaara's face? Konkuro whispered worriedly. He's losing it. What is father? Kazekage-sama gave his orders. Tamari sighed. We can only watch. Or that's what we are supposed to. What were you doing with that blonde brat anyway? Tamari turned towards her brother with a look that sent shivers to his spine. Are you loyal to your family, or to Suna? W. What? Do you want to kill our little brother for the sake of our village? Do you trust father? G. Gaara. You know what I think about him. You've never seen him when he... What's wrong with you, Tamari? She sighed. Never mind. She had not expected her brother to think the situation through. He was too obsessed with his fear for Gaara, and blindly trusted their father to make the right decisions. It would be up to her to make sure the Uzumaki could do what he promised. Or at least be the one to kill the Uzumaki if he ended up breaking his word. Gaara bowed his head slightly, and his cold demeanor changed into a grimace of madness. Naruto jumped back once some sen flew out of Gaara's gourd, but then looked with some confusion as Gaara grabbed his own head, as if he was in pain. Don't get so angry, mother, he panted, his eyes wide open. What's? Naruto started, cut off when more and more sand rose up. I fed you some nasty blood earlier. I know, mother. I'm sorry. Yes, mother, this time. Gaara looked up at Naruto, and the ferociousness startled Naruto. This will be delicious. Up in his chair, the Kazekage grasped the armrests of his chair. What is he doing? Why is he starting the conversation now? It is too early. That idiot, did he forget about the plan? He should just make quick work of that blonde brat and be done with it. Gaara's entire body seemed to break down in spasms for a moment, and all the floating sand fell to the ground. Come. Naruto shuddered as Gaara's voice had become completely emotionless and cold again. Whatever the boy had went through, it seemed like he had only fallen deeper into the darkness. It is that one-tailed loser, the Kyuubi growled inside Naruto. He is trying to take control. Do you still promise to help me? Against him? Yes. And you swear you won't try to take over my body? The Kyuubi growled. I told you, you ingrate. You pathetic humans may break your words easily, but that doesn't mean that I have no honor. I'd rather swallow my pride than allow that one-tailed loser to defeat you. No way that I will allow his Jinchuriki to be stronger. Still the same thing about not wanting to die. Naruto smirked. That too. Now pay attention and don't waste my chakra, or I will gobble you up, you little brat. Naruto smiled. It was a risk, but he knew that he would have to take it. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu, he created 5 clones which darted towards Gaara. With the chakra the Kyuubi now provided, Naruto was sure that he would have an advantage over Gaara. Even if Naruto had been forced to spend more chakra in his previous fight than expected. Despite everything, Neji was not a complete pushover. Naruto recalled Samui's efforts to bypass Gaara's defenses, and knew he would not be able to do the same thing. He was not as fast as she was, or people like Lee and Haku, and probably even Sasuke. No, Naruto's strong point was his chakra reserve. But against this opponent, that advantage would not mean as much as it usually did. Unless the Kyuubi was truly that much stronger than the Ikibi. Naruto had thought this through multiple times in this past month. His best bet was his skill in ninjutsu and fuinjutsu. Though not the ones that would kill Gaara. Gaara, on the other hand, seemed to trust solely on his ability to manipulate sand, while Naruto had access to futon and kaiden jutsus, as well as an array of seals. Well, technically he could also the Raiden jutsus, but his ability in those was still insufficient, especially against Gaara's defenses. Not to mention that his numbing hands jutsu would require him to get close to Gaara. Which wouldn't be the most intelligent move to make, when you know Gaara crushed his opponents as easily as someone else could break a twig. Hinata held her breath as she saw the Bunshin darted around Gaara, attacking with both fire and wind. But Gaara's sand defenses were too strong. Haruki frowned. Why is he testing him? He should have seen this in Gaara's last fight, he mumbled. Perhaps he is preparing something bigger. Kiba guessed, his sharp ears able to hear the man's soft-spoken words. So he can create sand Bunshin. Naruto mused, after a part of Gaara's sand barrier had taken shape and fought two of Naruto's Bunshin. Perhaps I should try the next thing. He created two new Bunshin, of which one dispelled immediately, sending its knowledge to the other clones. Naruto took the scroll he carried on his left thigh and summoned a much larger scroll from it, as the six Bunshin now darted around Gaara, evading his attacks and planting seals on the ground. The original Naruto took 3 pieces of paper from his back pockets, and set up a barrier. This barrier had been strong enough to survive a few hits from the legendary Sannin Tsunade, so it should last for a while against Gaara too. Gaara looked annoyed when he finally managed to catch one of the blonde Bunshin. Sure, the brat wasn't as nimble as that Kumo girl he fought before, but still. Enough of this, Gaara murmured as he spread out his arms, sacrificed his sand Bunshin, and created 5 tentacles of sand which lunged at the remaining Bunshin that dared to annoy him. Now, Naruto shouted from his protected position. The Bunshin charged forward, to their doom. But upon their death, they exploded. Genma flinched when he saw the series of explosions, which covered nearly half of the stage. Damn. That Kyuubi brat. He chewed on the Senbon in his mouth. First he blew up those clones, and then he ignited those seals the clones had scattered around the sand brat. Seriously, I should keep my distance or my clothes will become a damned mess. Naruto wasn't very surprised that Gaara remained unharmed, after all it had just been a dozen of infernal seals that exploded around him. But by the looks of it, the explosions had torn away most of the outer layer defense, and even created several cracks in the layer of sand that Gaara had put on his body as armor. Naruto couldn't suppress a smirk when he saw Gaara's annoyance. So he felt that one. Good. I'm sorry mother. Gaara suddenly screamed, and created a large wave of sand that crushed against Naruto's barrier. Tisk. Did he think I wouldn't expect something like this? Naruto frowned, putting his hand against the barrier which Gaara tried to crush by force. Immolation seal. Release, Naruto commanded, burning away the sand that surrounded him, while the barrier remained intact. Is that all? Naruto mocked Gaara with a disappointed tone. I had expected more from you, Mr. One. Perhaps that shortage of tails explains the gap between us. Gaara growled and the sand started to shift, creating a sphere around Gaara. Great. And now he has become a giant egg. Naruto frowned. Though, the determined glare from Gaara, right before the sand hid him from Naruto's view, disturbed him. You idiot, you should be getting worried. The Kyuubi exclaimed inside him. What? He locked himself in so that he can start his transformation. Stop hanging back and take the initiative, moron. What? I thought the transformation. It's not the same for every Jinchuriki, the fox sighed with impatience. Prepare that seal of yours, and I'll provide you the chakra you need to buy time. One more thing. If you can break that cocoon, you will disturb the transformation, rendering him defenseless. Right. Thank you, Kyuubi. Tisk. I don't need your thanks. Just beat Shukaku, if you want to thank me. Or even better, set me free. Naruto smiled as he felt the demon's chakra flood his system. You know I can't do that without killing myself, you bastard. We were both trapped by the fourth. Haku frowned as he heard Konkuro swear the most terrible things. He looked at Shikamaru. Seems like something is not going according to plan, Haku smiled. Naruto created 4 new Kage Bunshin, who would prepare the jutsu he actually wanted to keep as a contingency, while he himself stepped forward to face the cocoon of sand. He grinned, and waved indifferently at the eye of sand that floated next to the cocoon. Futon. Kazakiri no Jutsu. The Naruto exclaimed, but frowned a bit when the attack had no effect. All right then. Let's use some of the extra chakra. Futon. Rinkuden. Naruto said calmly, putting a larger amount of both his own and the Kyuubi's chakra into the jutsu. The 3 massive bullets of air hit the cocoon, 2 of them created dents in the cocoon, while the third ricocheted and created significant damage to the wall behind them. Damn. Alright. Next, Naruto shrugged, though getting a little annoyed. Kaden. Gokaku no Jutsu. The fireball was not strong enough to damage the cocoon, but this was never Naruto's intention. He used it to blind Gaara's artificial eye. Naruto threw a couple of kunai, with tags attached to them, into the cocoon surrounding Gaara. Okay, let's see how he fares against this. Naruto frowned as he activated the weight seals attached to the kunai. Yes, mother. Yes. I will rip off his head, then I'll crack it open so you can eat the brain. Huh. Yes, the head. Then tons of blood will flow out. You can have all of it, mother. Brother. Is that why you hate him so much, mother? Yes, mother. I will destroy him, but why can't I play with him? Don't you want him to suffer, mother? I'm sorry you had to have so much patience. I'm always a good boy, I'll do as you say, I will watch. He is trying to damage me, mother. Kyahaha. Yes, mother, we are ready. He is too late now. Finally, Naruto mumbled, when the weight seals caused the cocoon to crack. Some additional air bullets only sped up the crumbling of the barrier which kept Gaara safe. This barrier had been way stronger than he had expected. Ahahaha. Gaara emerged laughing manically, his right arm and face covered with black lines which spread further and further while Gaara continued laughing, still with his eyes closed. Idiot. You were too late, the Kyuubi growled. Now burn him. No. Naruto shook his head. Not yet, I have to try. Gaara's laughing changed in a shriek of pain, as his right arm transformed into a monstrous claw made out of sand. The sand, and the black lines, spread over the right half of his face as well, and when Gaara opened his eyes, Naruto shuddered when he saw the inhuman right eye. Come, Gaara growled, with a voice not his own. Let me feel it. Fight me. So this is what it looks like to see a Jinchuriki. Naruto felt some fear for the first time this match. Bending over, Gaara grabbed the ground with his claw-shaped arm. Using its demonic strength, he charged forward at Naruto. Phew. Naruto whistled as he barely escaped, using the Kawarimi no Jutsu and sacrificing a clone. At least preparations are complete. He looked and nodded at the other Bunshin, ordering them to dispel. Against an opponent of this strength it would be pointless to spread out his chakra over multiple clones. That was a basic rule that Jiraiya had stuffed in his head when Naruto first learned the jutsu. Are you afraid of me, Uzumaki Naruto? Gaara screamed, making it obvious to Naruto that his demon had completely taken him over. Do you fear my existence? Naruto sighed, and started chuckling. Genma scrambled, knowing this would get out of control. Afraid of you? Naruto smirked. Now why would I have to do that? Did you forget who I am? Naruto added, when the crimson chakra started to bubble around him. A miserable one-tailed idiot would threaten me. Naruto laughed with a now inhuman voice, feeling the Kyuubi's influence grow, but trusting that the demon would not betray him. Why would I even feel the slightest bit of fear? He added with a mocking tone. Well, not that it mattered if the Kyuubi betrayed him at this point, as there would be no way that Naruto survived this battle on his own power. You will. Gaara screamed, as his gourd disintegrated and the sand covered his legs and creating a hideous tail. The ground trembled when both partially transformed Jinchuriki clashed. Jiraiya grabbed Hiruzen's shoulder to prevent him from leaving his chair. The match was still going on, according to regulations. Intervention would be a violation of the terms of the Chunin exams. But as much as they knew this, it was still difficult to stand at the sidelines this battle unfolded. A battle unlike anyone had ever seen before in any of the previous Chunin exams. This was no longer a battle between humans. This was a battle between Jinchuriki. Orochimaru silently cursed that his servants had not finished yet. He knew that once Gaara reached this stage, full transformation would be imminent. But they were not ready. How he regretted not slitting his employer's throat and taking control of the operation himself. If only it had not been for his ability to steer the Aikibi. But at least it had given him the time to track down a nice new addition to his village of the hidden sound. And who knows, perhaps even a suitable body for him to use, with the proper training. Uchiha Sasuke, how I've longed for eyes like yours. Naruto was faster, but Gaara was heavier and his hits had more power to them. Even worse, the Jinchuriki from Sunagaku slowly kept transforming further and further, until he now reached a state in which only his legs had remained a human shape. I'm increasing the supply, the Kyuubi warned. It will shape your first tail. That should be sufficient to take him down. Now, drag him to the center of that seal of yours, quickly. Yes, boss, Naruto grimaced. The Kyuubi had never been much help, apart from the times in which their lives were in danger. The current level of cooperation, however, was strangely enjoyable. What are you hesitating? Gaara laughed. Perhaps I should kill those so-called friends of yours. Should I start with that white-eyed bitch first? The ground cracked and trembled as more and more of the crimson chakra emerged from a now frozen Naruto. What? Naruto whispered. You dare threaten? The chakra skyrocketed, responding to Naruto's rage. The crimson eyes turned to Gaara. Naruto, now fully covered by the Kyuubi's chakra, and with one tail behind him, charged towards Gaara. The sand-shaped claws tried, but failed to repel the crimson claws that grabbed Gaara's throat. You would dare to threaten my friends? Naruto hissed. Gaara roared and sand crushed at Naruto, but the latter felt nothing. You dare threaten Hinata? Did you really think the Aikibi could stand up against the Kyuubi? Naruto asked, before he threw Gaara away like a ragdoll. Pathetic little moron, he growled. The last remnants of Gaara's sanity now cowered in fear, as the now furious Jinchuriki approached. Genma looked up at the cages, but the cage did not say a word, so the Hokage could not end the match. Yet, not that Genma would be anxious to jump in the middle of this fight. Damn this. I never imagined these brats could go this far. This is crazy. Sand shuriken flew around, but could not penetrate the thick layer of chakra surrounding Naruto. Gaara, this is your last chance. Undo that creature's influence, or fall, Naruto warned him with an indifferent tone that would have terrified most other opponents. But the sand demon was already preparing to attack, so Naruto simply responded with a fireball. Though, Naruto had underestimated the influence of the Kyuubi. Naruto knew he should calm down, but his unshackled rage made it so much easier to draw onto the Kyuubi's vast chakra. And the fireball became too strong. Far too strong. Ripping apart Gaara's shell of sand, the fireball knocked him down into the ground. Stop this, Naruto commanded, gritting his teeth as he tried to suppress his anger. Now. Ha 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 ha, stop. Never. Gaara howled, as his chakra suddenly surged far beyond anything he had shown up till now. I don't care anymore. Curse the mission. Curse my family. Curse that moron that calls himself my father. Curse that village which only shuns me. Gaara laughed insanely. Gaara stood up, and looked at Naruto. All should cower in fear before my final form. Naruto heard the screams of panic coming from the audience, as he tried to digest what he saw in front of him. A humongous demonic tanuki, its body made out of sand, stood where Gaara had been. It was so large that it had crushed the wall behind him, as its single colossal tail reached out into the streets behind the arena. Luckily, this was the one side without seats for the audience, so Naruto figured that there wouldn't have been too many casualties. At least, he hoped. Damn it, Naruto whispered. I told you what would happen, and yet you didn't act, the Kyuubi growled inside him. Well, how was I supposed to stop him without murdering him? Naruto grumbled. I gave my word that I should try. You said you would try, and you did. How do you plan on killing him now? His release is nearly complete, so you are facing a real Biju now, not restrained by any seal. Stop wasting time, or you'll get us both killed. Kill. I'm not planning on doing that, Naruto frowned. But it will get rather tricky now. But look, he stands precisely at the right place. Now I just need a shitload of chakra to activate my backup plan. I never expected Gaara to be this strong. You greedy little brat. And I even warned you, you puny moron. Well fine, I'll provide it, it's not like I have much choice anyway. But you better make sure you beat that stupid Tanuki back to the hell where it came from. The Kazekage paled, as he saw his son lose control completely. This was a sight that had haunted him for the last few years, when he slowly saw his son being consumed by the demon. He signaled his guards. The plan had to be executed now. Jiraiya, the Hokage said. This has gone out of control. Gaara broke out of the arena, so by the rules I declare that he has lost. So you go down and stop him, he ordered his old pupil, as he glared at the Kazekage, who slowly stood up. No, the Mizukage stared down at Naruto, stopping Jiraiya in his tracks. What is that? What kind of drawing is that around the demon? The Kazekage and Hokage turned their attention at whatever Naruto was doing. The Hokage paled. No, this cannot be. Not that. How? Where did he learn that? Hiruzen stammered as he turned to Jiraiya, who looked with open mouth. He shouldn't be able to have read that scroll. That's impossible, Jiraiya whispered. His eyes went wide in shock. Not even I could. Even Mito-sama never wanted to master that jutsu. What is he doing? The Kazekage demanded, not noticing the petrified look on his guard behind him. With the seal already created by his Bunshin earlier, all Naruto had to do was to ignite the seal. And he had to move quick, before the Aikibi, now unleashed in the center of Konoha, could create havoc. Drawing in as much of the Kyuubi's chakra as he could hold, his cloak expanded to 3 tails, and Naruto unleashed the seal which he never had wanted to use. Fuinjutsu. Enetsu Jigoku, he almost panted, barely noticing how inhuman his voice now sounded, as the flaming pattern rose up and exploded into a pillar of deep red flames. Let's hope that the fires of hell can consume this demon. Not even Shukaku, the one-tailed Biju, could withstand the flames of hell which Naruto now summoned. The noise from the audience, from the crumbling wall, from everything. It all vanished when the pillar rose up and its flames started to howl and scream, as the flames turned from red into yellow into a blinding white. Alone, Naruto could barely keep the jutsu up for a minute, but with the help of the Kyuubi. Where would his limits be? The Tanuki screamed and frantically tried to get out, but its limbs of sand simply melted under the heat. The outer layer of the creature turned into glass, and the longer the pillar continued to burn, the thicker the glass became, completely immobilizing the demon. The entire stadium looked on, as if the world had frozen, as Naruto kept the seal active for 1 minute. 2 minutes, the monster became unable to struggle. 3 minutes, Naruto started to feel the exhaustion by the insane amounts of chakra he was forced to use. 4 minutes, Naruto could feel the chakra from the Aikibi dwindle, as he panted and struggled to keep the flow of chakra from the Kyuubi into the seal intact. 5 minutes after the seal was ignited, the Aikibi's chakra nearly vanished, and Naruto ended the jutsu, afraid he would kill Gaara if he continued too long. The roaring pillar of flames dwindled, and the molten remains of Shukaku of the sands shattered. As the pieces of glass fell, Naruto watched. Where is he? I didn't mess up, did I? As the debris of the fallen Jinchuriki shattered and fell, the disguised guard of the Kazekage drew his blade. This charade has gone on long enough. Chapter 31. Invasion PT-1. Sealing. He failed. The Kazekage stood frozen. How? Behind him, his guards stirred. So Gaara-kun has failed. That Uzumaki brat is more annoying than I had foreseen. It has been my mistake to not take him down properly back in the woods, even though I had believed the poison would have crippled him. Perhaps I should conduct more research to the Uzumaki. His strength is starting to intrigue me, Orochimaru though at high speed. But there are more important things now. Sunagakure has failed me, but we cannot withdraw the attack anymore. I should just create as much chaos as possible, and have my fun with Sarutobi-sensei. The disguised guard stepped forward, and bowed to the cage. You have served us well, but it seems your usefulness has come to an end, Orochimaru whispered, as he ran his poisoned blade through the Yondaime cage. But it appears I won't need you to control Gaara-kun any longer. You traitor. The man gurgled, his eyes wide in shock. Not that the cage was shocked that he was wounded like this, but rather, that the will that had been influencing him suddenly vanished. Hiruzen jumped up, responding faster than even the Mizukage could, despite his age. But as Jiraiya turned to attack, Orochimaru darted past him and grabbed the old man, leaping off. Kazekage-sama, the remaining guard of the dying man exclaimed. We have been used, the Kazekage coughed. Baki. Stop him. They will ruin Sunagaku. It's the sign, Kabuto said to his fellow traitors. Commence the attack. Within seconds, the audience saw feathers flying through the entire arena, and most fell asleep. Most, but not the Jonin who stood at guard. Which was expected, but Kabuto still did not feel comfortable. The key in their plan had been the distraction created by that Sabaku no Gaara. With his failure, we are at a disadvantage. I better move quickly, and get the target out. As Orochimaru-sama ordered, he dropped the Anbu mask he had stolen earlier that day, corrected his glasses, and jumped off. The shinobi of Odogakure would have to handle the remaining resistance. Even though Orochimaru only brought along his less successful experiments and other disposable fighters, they still outnumbered their opponents. With the siblings from Sunagaku still distracted by Gaara's fall, Shikamaru was the first to notice something had happened where the cages were seated. He nodded at Haku. Kajimane no Jutsu. Success, the lazy genin remarked. Haku, can you make sure they are immobilized? Some ice should be sufficient, Haku said calmly. I would rather not use any more permanent methods. He walked over and touched their hands, which were clamped together due to Shikamaru's influence. Hurry, my jutsu will not hold much longer. Why don't we stop this? Tamari sighed. Personally, I have no interest in the stupid plan my father came up with, and I would rather focus on helping my brother. Naruto promised me not to kill Gaara, so we could better go down there, before someone else does. Tamari. Konkuro spurred his eyes open. Would you betray? Yes, Konkuro. I recognize stupidity when I see is, Tamari snarled. Father is being tricked, you two should realize this. He would never had done this if he was his normal self. Everything hurt. So much. Pain. But, he lived. He knew he was alive. But how? Despite the pain, he tried to open his eyes. Blue skies. He blinked. What was this feeling of tranquility? He had been defeated. Why was he still alive? Why was it so silent? Something caught his attention. The blonde boy looked at him. Gaara saw the exhaustion on the boy's face. The victor of their battle. He had won, but how? Why was Mother afraid of him? Was his demon really so much stronger? Why? Gaara coughed as his throat was dry. Why did you not kill me? He softly spoke. Why would I? Naruto frowned, while continuing his preparation. Gaara turned his head and saw the blonde draw something. Killing you would only create more trouble. Besides, why should I kill someone who has the same burden as I have? You. Why? I lost, so what purpose does my life have? Does life even need to have purpose? Naruto wondered. I do not know. I just promised not to kill you, if that would satisfy you. Promised. Then what? What are you doing? You should thank your sister if this works out. She was the one who gave me this opportunity, Naruto smiled weakly. Because of her, I found a way out, without having to kill you. Tamari. Why would she? Whatever you were turning into, you were still her little brother, Naruto explained patiently, while staring at the last few lines he had just drawn. Enough to defy the Kazecage's orders, and give me the information I need to strengthen that seal of yours. You would do that, but why? Naruto chuckled, after he had nodded approvingly at his drawing. Most of it he had already prepared, but without precisely knowing Gaara's seal, there was no way of preparing a complete seal. Your death would only have increased the chance that there would be war, while your survival increases the chances of peace. Besides, don't you wish to break from the hold that the Aikibi has over you? Gaara blinked. Why would his sister care? Why would Naruto care? He didn't understand, but felt strange, grateful. He was truly defeated, at every point. Thank you, Uzumaki Naruto. Thank me when you survive this, Naruto said grimly. If you survive this. More chakra. The Kyuubi growled. Now what? I only struck a deal with you to teach that one-tailed idiot a lesson, no more. Kill him, you stupid brat. You've never pitied anyone else, so don't go soft now. Kill him right now. Shut up, Naruto snapped. I don't mind killing that Shukaku or whatever it's called. But Gaara is just like me, so I will not kill him. Even if I had not made that promise to his sister, killing him would only have created more problems. What do I care about the problems that the puny humans create? Your village treats us Biju as their weapons. Their property. Let it burn. Let it all burn. Naruto smirked. You really are a hothead, aren't you, Fox? What? The Kyuubi roared. Think, and use that big head of yours. You hate Shukaku. Fine, if you really hate him that much, then I present you the worst thing that we can do. Let him suffer in his prison, with no way out. If you had paid more attention, you would have known I planned to do this from the very start. The Kyuubi looked down on Naruto, and considered what was said as it calmed down. You. He laughed darkly. Imprisonment, you say? Yeah, that's why I need more chakra. I plan to reinforce Gaara's seal, so that Shukaku's influence is reduced. You yourself have often said you hate your prison more than anything else. Well, then. Cunning little brat, the Kyuubi smirked. Fine then, I will help you once more. But this is the last time. Even my massive chakra has its limits, especially in this rotten place. Well, what do you choose? Hurry up. Temari snarled at Shikamaru. Shikamaru sighed. What did he say again? It might be that she does not want to attack you. But make sure she doesn't aid the ones attacking Konoha. Troublesome. Shikamaru recollected Naruto's words about Temari. It fits precisely with what she just said. And such promises sound exactly like something he would do. Plus, she isn't resisting my hold either. Well, Temari demanded impatiently. We go down, Shikamaru decided. I do not know what kind of crazy things Naruto has been planning, but he did hint that you might be doing something like this. But do not think we would allow you to join the invaders. We go down there and get Naruto and Gaara to safety. That's it, alright. HMPF. Not as dense as I thought you were, Temari remarked. Shut up, Konkoro. She turned towards her brother. Or they can freeze you in for all I care. It is time for you to see that father is wrong about this. He would never have done something like this before, he lost his mind. Even with the chakra he got from the Kyuubi, Naruto felt completely exhausted when he was finished with putting the extra seal on Gaara. Thank you, Gaara whispered again. My head. The voice. Mother. It is so silent. Naruto nodded and looked around. Seemed like the fighting had broken out in earnest. But Naruto knew he was in no shape to do much more. Whatever their plan was, he had taken down Gaara before he could be turned against Konoha. Still, the sounds of battle disturbed him. But at least the Ikibi was no longer a threat to Konoha. How did you manage to survive? With the seal. Your demon, it is much more powerful. Gaara broke the silence between them. The seal that was put on me was far stronger. I do not know what idiot made that seal you carry, but it was weak. Very weak. Especially because it contained at least 2 glaring mistakes. Honestly, I am surprised you even managed to survive this long. It was that bad. Gaara blinked. Perhaps now I will no longer be a monster. People will always be afraid of us, Naruto said, pensively, and half to himself. People had now seen him, after all. And out of their fear they will hate us, and call us monsters. Jinchuriki. But people are merely afraid of us because they do not understand us. I do not think we should make the mistake of hating them back. If you hate something back, it will only make you fall to their level. I do not wish to be as they are. I want to be better. Gaara looked at him, and his confusion was rather obvious. In fact, he just showed more emotions than Naruto had seen in this past month. Naruto sighed. They may think we do not fit into their beliefs of how the world should be, but the world never is as we want it to be. We live in the real world, not an illusion. So we should not make illusions either. We cannot afford it, as we would only be sad and angry when the lie shatters. And we both know what happens when we lose control. Gaara looked at his seal. If I had fully released Shukaku today, I might have lost control permanently. Father knew. He told me that it was an acceptable risk, Gaara added harshly. Yeah, people do tend to use us, don't they? Naruto smirked weakly. That's why we should better stick together. After all, there are only 9 of us, at most. Every human being is unique, but we are simply a bit more unique, and thus we also stand out more than any other. That is our burden, what we have to endure. People will always watch us. But that is also our chance, because when we stand out, we can also give the proper example. You intend to lead them? Gaara wondered. The village. Those that hate you. Since I was a little kid, I always wanted to be Hokage, Naruto admitted. First only to make the people respect me, but I now know it is not that simple. My friends taught me that respecting someone for their power is a far cry from respecting the person itself. Mostly, that would just be based on fear. So, I will aim to become Hokage so that I can protect and guide the people. Even if it is from their own mistakes. Gaara looked surprised. Is that what you fight for? For my friends, for a better future, Naruto sighed. Someone told me to never give up, and always hope that things will become better. Ironic to say such things when we see our villages do battle like this. Gaara nodded. Shikamaru, Haku, Temari, and Kankuro charged forward. For some reason, the hostile shinobi did not approach the 2 Jinchuriki, but they did not allow any other to go near them either. It was the second time that day that Shikamaru swallowed away his fear when he saw Temari unleash her power. This is one hell of a troublesome girl, he frowned, a little concerned by the thought that he and Haku had planned to hold her down. Well, not that Haku seemed to care. Shikamaru considered that the boy from Kurigakure would be equally troublesome, even despite his kind nature. Gaara, Temari shouted, landing near the 2 nearly motionless boys. Are you? Did it work? Seems like it. Naruto chuckled weakly. I would suggest that you fetch Jiraiya later on, and let him check on it. But it should be powerful enough to last at least for a while. You what? How did you pull that off? Shikamaru exclaimed when he realized what Naruto had done. Thank you. Temari said softly. Kankuro looked on and frowned. Why did you do this? Why save Gaara? It would have been easier if. Did you want war? If Gaara died, and Tsunagarker was left weakened, Naruto said determined. Would you want that? A 4th shinobi world war? Because of what? Pride. Calm down, Shikamaru interrupted. Let's get the 2 of you to a safe place first. Ah, but I am afraid I cannot allow that, youngster. A misshapen person spoke up. All the genin looked up in surprise and fear, as the newcomer revealed himself. Any shinobi that could sneak up on all of them would be good. Very good. And Genma's corpse behind him was only another warning. I suggest the 4 of you start running. I have no interest in you weaklings. Only the demons. I see. You guys make sure to get Naruto to safety, Haku said, turning to their opponent. I will handle this one. Gay haha. What courage for someone so young. The misshapen man laughed, revealing his face when he removed his straw hat. You youngsters should know who you face. Mere genin should not try to fight Sasori of the Red Sand, he chuckled with his inhuman face. Sasori. No way. He disappeared. Kankuro started. Damn. Temari, you and that sloth take Gaara and Naruto away. Now. Tisk tisk. Sasori shook his head. And I was even courteous enough to give you a chance to escape, he gestured with his arms wide, summoning a handful of puppets. Kankuro summoned his puppets as well, but he saw that there was no way out anymore. His opponent had surrounded them. Now, hand over those Jinchuriki. My employer needs them, he said, still completely calm. You didn't think Tsunagarker came up with this plan, did you? I have spent months preparing and planting sleeper agents in this dumb village. We only used Tsunagarker to have Gaara here as well. But I must say that this turn of events was better than I had ever had dared to hope. The 2 morons took each other out, and now they are ripe for the picking. He chuckled. So you really were after us. Let me guess, you are part of Akatsuki, just as Orochimaru. Yugito spoke up, after she had jumped down. Now that is unexpected. You were supposed to be forbidden to attack as long as you were not attacked first, and yet here you are. Sasori sounded a bit careful now. But a monster more or less. Who cares what happens to you, right? You dare. Yugito hissed softly. You bunch of cowards. Children, take Naruto and Gaara to a safe place. Up there, she pointed to a section of the arena. This pathetic excuse of a shinobi is mine. None of them had to think twice to follow the woman's orders when she released an incredible amount of chakra. Two carrying each Jinchuriki, the little group sprinted away. Now you will burn. Yugito smirked. You were forbidden to release, Sasori stammered, not expecting his opponent to go all out. It would be sealed when you were outside Kumogakure. I got permission. Yugito growled, covered by blue flames. Had this idiot really thought that Jiraiya would be unable to remove the seal her Hokage ordered her to wear? Besides, no one ever ordered her to not remove the seal, so she had not violated her leader's command either. Naruto turned his head and saw the unleashed form of the Nibi confront Sasori. He looked up and saw something else. A large barrier on top of a building. Shikamaru followed his look. Seems like something bad is happening in there. He frowned, for once not lazily. I don't suppose you can do something about it. I can. I think. I should. Naruto sighed. Tamari, Shikamaru, would you two be willing to bring me there? I got a bit of chakra left, so I should be able to create an opening. For a moment, I do not know what is going on, but I think I feel that Orochimaru inside that barrier. You want to go there? Tamari frowned. I see, so we have to get you there safely. It should be doable, at least if that lazy ass can keep up. Hey, Shikamaru protested. I supposed we should do it. Damn, this will get me killed for sure. Coward, Tamari smirked. Haku, Naruto shouted towards the boy in front of him. You three continue, we have something else to do first. Hold it right there, Kurenai hissed. Why did you three come here? We're taking Gaara out of the chaos down there, Haku said calmly. I hope you two are willing to ensure the safety of Sabaku no Gaara and his brother Kankuro. We hand ourselves over, Gaara said, his voice as weak as he looked like right now. You are the sensei of Uzumaki Naruto, aren't you? Kurenai frowned and nodded. Naruto reinforced my seal. I owe him, and Konoha. I swear to you that neither I nor my siblings will resist our captivity. You turn yourselves over. Willingly. Asuma frowned, having trouble to believe them. Why? The blonde brat saved my brother. Now we are supposed to owe him, Kankuro said dryly. Besides, I just heard that Sunagakure was tricked into this mess, so I have no intention of throwing away my life for a mere lie. Guard them closely, please. There are others. Pursuing the Jinchuriki, Haku said. Yugito-sama is taking care of the situation. But I must aid Mizukage-sama now. Haku bowed shortly, and vanished. Kurenai, you wake up Rock Lee and Choji, Asuma said after a moment of thinking. If that kid is right, we can expect more attackers at this place, and we can't look after those two and fight at the same time. Chapter 32. Invasion PT2, Fall. The disguised guard stepped forward, and bowed to the cage. You have served us well, but it seems your usefulness has come to an end, Orochimaru whispered, as he ran his poisoned blade through the Yondaime cage. You traitor. The man gurgled. Hiruzen jumped up, responding faster than even the Mizukage could, despite his age. But as Jiraiya turned to attack, Orochimaru darted past him and grabbed the old man, leaping off. Kazekage-sama, the remaining guard of the dying man exclaimed. We've been used. The Kazekage coughed. Baki. Stop him. They will ruin Sunagakure. Baki. Recall our troops, the Kazekage uttered his final words. I will, my lord. Baki bowed his head in sorrow, as the light left his leader's eyes. Terumi Mei was especially interested by the Kazecage's last words. With Orochimaru taking away the Hokage, Jiraiya had charged after them. With no one else around, the Mizukage was free to act as she saw fit. So it isn't just Orochimaru pulling the strings. Zabuza. She nodded to her strongest guard. Restrain this man. Yes, Mizukage-sama, Zabuza smirked, happy to finally get some action. But to his disappointment, the famous Baki of the Winds did not put up any resistance. He barely even looked away from his fallen leader. Tell me, Baki, May started. How many are still outside the gates? A few hundred, Baki groaned, after Zabuza had to encourage him a little with a hard kick in his back. We were supposed to be backed by an even greater number from Otogakure. But now Orochimaru betrayed us. I do not know, it almost seems like a ploy to weaken both Sunagakure and Konohagakure at once. The Mizukage looked down on the one-eyed Jonin. With the demise of the Kazekage, you are the highest authority of Sunagakure around here, are you not? I am. We, the Jonin, had our reservations about the plan that Kazekage-sama had, but we had little choice. Baki almost apologized. But now that we... Silence, May ordered him. Tsurugi, take this man to the gates and make sure he gives the orders to retreat. If now, kill him and help the defenders from Konoha, along with your detachment. She looked at her other guard, the head of Kurigakure's Hunter Nin, as he hurried away. The black-haired man showed the scars to prove his experience, and she knew full well that he would be up to his task. Zabuza, you make sure that this area is cleansed, she ordered the swordsman. I wouldn't be surprised if Otogakure would make a move on one of the Jinchuriki. Make sure they do not succeed. But, my lady, your guard, he protested. Shut up, May remarked. I'm only going for a walk. I promise I won't do anything too exciting, okay? She smiled. Though I'm seriously going to kill you if anything happens to those Jinchuriki, she added before vanishing from his sight. Tsunade-sama, Shizune asks, what are you going to do? The blonde woman sighed. I was foolish enough to promise the old man to help defending Konoha during this exam. Damn it, I expected it would merely be a false alarm. Me and my rotten luck. But you are still going to fight. I gave my word. Tsunade frowned. And it looks like I won't get bored either. Orochimaru and his ugly snakes. They are rather huge. Shizune frowned as well. Shall I take down the Oto Nins while you focus on the snakes? She suggested, knowing her master's disposition. Tsunade smirked. Even though she had forsworn fighting, she couldn't ignore the old feeling of anxiety that she always used to feel before battles started. Not that she had to face someone like Hanzo today. At least, she couldn't imagine that Orochimaru had any S-rank shinobi working for him. And preferably, she wouldn't even have to fight other humans today. In fact, she wasn't even sure if she would be capable to take any more human lives. Let's move, Tsunade said after she summoned Katsuyu, the mighty slug that always aided her during battle. Katsuyu, attack all those who dare to attack Konohagakure. Also, leave some of your fragments behind to heal those on our side that get wounded. Use as much of my chakra as you deem fit. Yes, Tsunade-sama. Standing on top of an apartment building a little while later, Tsunade couldn't help but be somewhat troubled when seeing the extent of the damage done to Konoha. Together with Shizune and Katsuyu, Tsunade had made short work of the invaders in their sector, and she had seen the Mizukage's rampage as well. The female leader from the hidden mist left molten and vaporized victims in her wake, in such ways that even Tsunade was curious to see what kind of skills the woman could use. Small wonder that she was named Mizukage, if this woman wielded this kind of power. No, what worried Tsunade more were the reports she had heard of traitors among Konoha's ranks. Shinobi who suddenly turned on their own, and even shouted warnings to their friend while attacking them. Something was controlling them. But what? Orochimaru had always had an odd fascination for dangerous and rare bloodlines. But Tsunade couldn't think of any bloodline aside from the Yamanaka that would be able to do something like this. But those techniques could never be applied on such scale. And those whose minds were overtaken would not try to warn others. It almost felt like a puppet master. We have to look for someone who might be controlling those traitors among our own ranks, Tsunade notified her party. It would appear that all the larger snakes have been taken down now, but I think our main focus should be defending the walls. Yes, Tsunade-sama, Katsuyu and Shizune answered, while the latter was wondering if Taunton, who they had left in the shelters, was still all right. You were forbidden to release, Sasori stammered, not expecting his opponent to go all out. Akatsuki had intel that the Raikage himself had restricted the woman's power whenever she got over the border. How could it be that this blonde woman defied those orders? I got permission. Yugito growled, covered by blue flames. The moment you started hunting my kind, you Akatsuki scum. Though I guess your little spy did not tell you about that promise I made. Or did he fail to notice that Jiraiya-sama removed that restraint? Blue flames erupting from her body, and it only took moments before Sasori had to look up against the monstrous apparition of the Nibi. The monstrous two-tailed Biju, engulfed in blue flames, with amounts of chakra even more vast than those Sasori had felt when Gaara unleashed Shukaku, now confronted him. This is unfortunate. My chakra reserves took quite a hit. And my poisons would be pointless against her, so I guess I am forced to summon him. Sasori considered his best course of actions, while his opponent transformed. Though this fight will not in my advantage, not when I have spent so much chakra on turning my collection here in Konoha against their own. I should make this quick. He took a scroll from under his mantle, and summoned a black-haired humanoid puppet. Meet the Sandame Kazekage, my most prized puppet, Sasori chuckled. The puppet charged at the transformed Yugito, lashing out with a large claw attached to its arm. But the poisoned blade on the claw never reached their intended target. The two-tailed demon simply lashed out, and ripped the entire arm away. Terribly fast, despite its size, Sasori analyzed. Odd. With such a size, she should be far too heavy to move like that. But it is like I feared. I really have to resort to that jutsu. The now one-armed puppet jumped back to create a safe distance between it and the cat-like demon, and opened its mouth. It spewed out a large cloud of black sand, which started floating around it. Satetsu, the iron sand, Yugito frowned. That is quite a powerful asset. I wonder how this guy managed to recreate that jutsu with a puppet. It is not just a puppet, Matabi, the two-tailed Biju, answered her master. Somehow, the original third Kazekage was turned into that. Yugito scowled. All the more reason to finish this quickly, she ordered. Yes, Yugito-sama. To Matabi, becoming a puppet was the ultimate insult to any being. It was the ultimate form of enslavement. And it remembered her far too much about her own fate. Well, their fate, as Yugito never had much choice in the matter either. The iron sands shaped into an enormous scythe, lashing out at the Biju. For a moment, Sasori felt a spark of hope, as the black weapon pierced the monster. But it did not do any damage. Is she even solid, or just the mass of blue flames she appears to be? Sasori scowled. Slightly off guard, Sasori hardly saw the Nibi move, and his response to withdraw his puppet was a fraction too late. In one jump, the cat landed next to the puppet, and spitted one fireball at it. One extremely powerful fireball. Konoha trebled as the explosion engulfed the area. Within a mile of it, all windows shattered under the pressure of the blast. This was not human jutsu. No, this was the unleashed fury of one of the 9 sacred demons itself. In the onslaught, Sasori found himself far too close to his puppet. If it hadn't been for his armor. But now, with his prized puppet obliterated, and even his own shell of armor completely blasted apart, Sasori stood in his real form. A red-haired and brown-eyed young boy, wearing the Akatsuki cloak. For the puppet master, it felt almost as if being nude, after not having revealed his true form to any opponent in many years. This entire crater created by one single fireball. Time for me to go. There is no use in dragging on this fight, Sasori mumbled. They weren't kidding around when they said that this Jinchuriki was supposed to be the second most dangerous one around, after that 8-tailed Jinchuriki. Well, at least while those other two are still brats. Damned demons. Sasori turned and jumped, believing that his fast and agile form would be more than enough to evade the rampaging monster. Sasori knew that with the disadvantage of his mostly depleted chakra reserves, and an opponent covered with those accursed blue flames, none of his puppets would be able to subdue this opponent. None of their weapons or poisons could hope to damage that demonic being. Evasion was the only way to ensure continued survival. How wrong he was. But how could he have known that the Nibi was this fast? Zetsu had never mentioned this in his reports. Matabi lunged forward, its claws ripping apart Sasori's legs. But they were merely parts of a puppet. Even this body is a puppet. Yugito wondered. There. That is the source of his chakra. Matabi grabbed the fleeing Akatsuki member, who tried to get away despite the fact that his legs were torn off, and pinned the puppet down on the ground. All across Konoha, a large pillar of flames could be seen. Not a bright and roaring pillar like the one that Naruto had used earlier, but rather an enormous cyclone of blue flames. These flames consumed Sasori, while the transformed Yugito calmly stood in center of that destruction. She could not be hurt by her own fire. Just like the nine tails, the Jinchuriki of the two tails also had an incredible resistance against fire. Unlike the wooden frame of Sasori's body, Tsurumi Mei once again swore to herself that she, as Mizukage of Kurigakure, would never allow war to touch her village. Konohagakure was crawling with people who were extinguishing fires, are saving people who got trapped under collapsed buildings, are the countless wounded that were brought to the hospitals. War was hell. Mei shuddered when she thought what destruction the Ikibi could have caused if it had not been stopped. The nightmares of the civil wars still haunted her at night, but what she saw now resembled much of that chaos. On the brighter side, the shinobi from Sunagakure were stopped in front of the walls surrounding Konoha, and would soon leave. Unless Baki would do something foolish, which would cost him his life, knowing Tsurugi. After all, the head of her ruthless hunter Nins was not exactly known to be very merciful to anyone who dared to break their word. Meanwhile, the giant snakes that were supposed to breach the perimeter were disabled by the Sannin Tsunade. Despite knowing that Tsunade had more or less retired years ago, to Mei it seemed like the older woman still lived up to her reputation. The ease at which she disposed of the humongous reptiles with nothing more than her overwhelming brute strength surprised Mei a bit. Small wonder Tsunade was this famous, just like her infamous teammates. The only thing that confused Mei was that Tsunade did not attack other shinobi, but rather let her assistant and her summon take care of her human opponents. I heard the rumors about her reasons to retire as a shinobi. Is it true that she cannot fight other shinobi anymore? Mei wondered. It would explain why she did not use any ninjutsu. Though, she is impressive enough as it is. Not that Mei considered herself weaker. Not anymore. The legendary Tsunade had once been an example to the young Mei, when she was a girl. To Mei, it was the living proof that gender did not matter, that women could easily be as strong as men. Even in their prejudiced world. And now, after all those years and efforts, Mei too had become an example of the heights Kunoichi could reach. The molten carcasses of her enemies were the silent and smoldering proof of her prowess. Now what is that? Mei mumbled, seeing a huge pillar of blue flames arise in the arena. I thought I felt something off. So it really was the Nibi. Gay. It seems like all the strongest women of our world are gathered here, Mei smirked. Not long after, she noticed that the Konoha shinobi were no longer tormented by the traitors in their own ranks. A little bit earlier, Haruki watched in horror as he saw Sabaku no Gaara release the demonic being inside him. Memories of seeing the Kyuubi attack Konoha flooded his mind as he saw and felt the horrible chakra from the one-tailed Biju. So this is what a Jinchuriki is capable of. Akko whispered, her eyes wide open in shock. Please watch out Naruto. The others remained silent. She sat there, vigilant, while the genin showed a mixture of pure horror and deep worry for their teammate and friend. But Haruki had noticed that Naruto had a plan. And the all-consuming pillar of fire confirmed his idea. The demon tried to get out, but was blinded, while the hellish fires quickly melted its feet. This battle is inhuman. How did Naruto progress to this level? Where are his limits? Haruki wondered, as he saw his protege struggle to keep the jutsu active. Even though the boy had the chakra from the Kyuubi as a backup, this was still an amazing display of skill and power. Haruki thought back at the times when little Naruto had been struggling to do even the, to them, simplest exercises in chakra control. And now the world could see Naruto for who he was. Not a monster, but the future Hokage. The display erased the last of Haruki's doubts regarding the boy's dream. No one could even underestimate Naruto again. And the Jinchuriki of Konoha was still so young, with so much potential to grow. How powerful would Naruto become? Haruki felt proud. Proud enough to almost move this stoic man to tears. Well, more than just almost. But he wiped the drops away before others would notice. As the fiery pillar vanished, and the molten remains of the Ikibi shattered, Haruki noticed something else. Someone had activated a genjutsu. Not a powerful one, but considering the scale of it, this was no simple trick. Release. Haruki barked, and turned to the others. She shrugged, seemingly unaffected by the jutsu, as an apparent effect of her near-perfect chakra control. But the others were fast asleep. Not that Haruki thought Hinata would normally have fallen for this. But she was very distracted by the scene below them. Kabuto saw that many Jonin and even some of the more capable Chunin had resisted the genjutsu. Which was expected, but Kabuto still did not feel comfortable. The key in their plan had been the distraction created by that Sabaku no Gaara. With his failure, we are at a disadvantage. I better move quickly, and get the target out of here, as Orochimaru-sama ordered. He dropped the Anbu mask he had stolen earlier that day, corrected his glasses, and jumped off. Landing on the edge, Kabuto smirked. One of her was unlucky enough to resist the genjutsu. You should have stayed down, the traitor whispered, coolly. It would have spared you a lot of pain. Haruki turned to Akko and wanted to dispel the genjutsu that was put on her when he noticed someone had jumped down behind him. What are you doing here? Haruki asks, as calmly as possible. Haruki knew all too well that his body made it impossible for him to engage in a real fight. Something is off. Anbu without a mask, but without traces of a fight that would justify him not wearing it. Haruki looked at the newcomer. It would seem that this was inevitable. Why don't you step aside? The young man remarked. Haruki saw the man's circular glasses, and the onyx eyes behind them. Along with the ash-gray hair, this man had a rather unobtrusive appearance. Why are you here? Haruki asks, gesturing Chi to stand down. Isn't it obvious? The young man remarked calmly. Right behind you I see the heir of one of Konoha's most powerful clans, and she's sitting here without being protected by her own clan. Quite an easy target, don't you say? So, an infiltrator? Not really, the man shrugged. Officially, I am still a genin from Konoha, who participated but failed during the exam. It doesn't mean that I wasn't loyal to Orochimaru-sama to begin with. So then, I'd say I've already wasted enough time on you, Haruki-san. How do you? Did you think Orochimaru-sama was not aware of Hyuga Hinata taking this specific place? Kabuto smirked. He lashed out and Haruki was blown aside. His older, and by illness crippled, body was no match. Tisk. I do not know why Orochimaru-sama would send me out to deal with this pathetic jonin. Clearly, his illness has already progressed to such a stage that even one of the failed experiments could have dealt with him. Now, let's take little Miss Hyuga here, Kabuto mumbled to himself. A 5-foot black and white cat-like creature stood in front of him. Its long tail waved behind it. So, glasses 2-leg, she growled. Let's dance. Haruki groaned. He felt that several bones had snapped. Not very surprised, seeing how the poison had also started to affect his brittle bones, after previously eating away his muscles. He opened his eyes and saw Chi darting around the gray-haired traitor. How did Orochimaru know about our location? Haruki wondered. Silently, he tried to get up, but his broken left arm and his cracked ribs caused him too much pain to suppress a groan. So this is the end. He sighed. He smiled gently, seeing the beautiful serene face of his wife again. Soon, my dear, I will be with you soon. But first I have to do something. Who would have imagined that I, with my broken body, would still get the honor of dying in battle? Focusing his chakra and pushing his body to the limit, Haruki managed to regain his footing. The attacker had disabled Chi with several Senbon, and was now bending over Hinata, examining her as he was mumbling something about perfect health. Trembling, but still noiselessly, Haruki stood up. Kabuto's eyes widened when he felt a hit on his back. Flipping around, he bashed Haruki in his face. Why didn't you just stay? Kabuto started. Shock. Kabuto felt his body move uncontrollably. His chakra fluctuated. What the? Juken. Kabuto growled in annoyance. Do you really think I cannot heal a little damage like that? How many times did feel me hit you? Haruki coughed, his mouth filled with blood. He smirked, weakly but nonetheless proud. I was the man responsible for training Uzumaki Naruto, you should never have underestimated me. Another fit of coughing. Did you really think I had not developed myself beyond the normal Juken? Brat. What did you do to me? Kabuto demanded, starting to panic because he could not feel his own chakra anymore. Naruto has chakra coils far stronger than any normal person, so I had to change my style in order to properly take him down during the matches we had when he was a boy. Haruki said, his pride obvious to Kabuto. How do you think he could block Neji's Jukin so easily? Your heart is damaged, traitor. Now die. Haruki stepped forward, not caring about his own injuries, nor did he bother to consider his own survival. He knew he was a dead man anyway. Even if he somehow managed to recover from his current injuries with his broken body, the poison would still claim him. How many years had it been? 8, 9. How he felt his body slowly crumble from that one poison kunai that had hit him on that unfortunate day. It had been his punishment, being too reckless after his beloved had died. But only now he truly regretted it. I am sorry, Naruto. I wish I could have seen you grow even further, Haruki thought, smiling with the picture of an older Naruto wearing the Hokage's hat in his mind, as his chakra-enveloped hand struck Kabuto's throat. Not even the kunai that Kabuto had pointed at him made Haruki stop. He did not even feel it pierce his stomach. There was no pain. All he felt was joy. Liberation. I am here, Minako, Haruki smiled, seeing his beloved reach to him. She was as beautiful as the first day he had ever seen her. Her warm embrace filled him with peace, as was comforted by the familiar smell of her hair. It had been so long. I missed you, Haruki. When she regained consciousness, she moved over to wake her friends. Disrupting the chakra flow from a genjutsu was easy for her. She saw the corpse of Glass's two-leg lying on the ground, his hand still grasping his own throat, with a puddle of blood near his mouth. As much as she rejoiced that her attacker had perished, she knew that she had to wake her friends, before other attackers would come. But Haruki would not wake. Her dazed mind first did not understand. She saw his content smile, as he leaned back at the wall. Then saw the kunai, stuck in his stomach. But he did not breathe. And his eyes were not white, as they were supposed to be. There was no chakra. There was no pulse. Then she understood. A stab in her heart, one she had not felt for many years. Farewell, Haruki-san, she bowed her head, with a voice mixed with sorrow and guilt. Chapter 33. Invasion PT-3. Last-ditch effort. Jiraiya cursed. Embarrassingly enough, two shinobi had stalled him enough for Orochimaru to create a barrier that prevented him from reaching his sensei. Sarutobi-sensei, be careful with that snake, Jiraiya whispered, knowing full well how troubled the old man was that his former favorite student had betrayed him, and Konoha like that. Jiraiya thought about Naruto, and finally realized he could empathize with Hiruzen's feelings a bit. If Jiraiya was ever forced to fight Naruto, would he have been able to kill without mercy? Small wonder that Orochimaru had been able to get away when his hideous experiments were uncovered. And that incident was years ago, when Sarutobi Hiruzen, even though past his prime, was still a formidable shinobi. Well, he still is formidable, but his age has clearly weakened him. And Orochimaru never fought honestly either. It bothered him that he had been stalled like this. Two shinobi, whom he recognized to be candidates from Konoha who had failed the Chunin exam during the second stage, had tried to distract him, and attacked him after Jiraiya had ignored them. Even though they were supposed to be genin, they easily possessed the skill to be Chunin. And their annoying skills only led to more time being wasted. Chakra absorption and a snake-like body modification. Seems like Orochimaru has not stopped at collecting blood limits and experimenting to create new ones, Jiraiya sighed. And now what four of Orochimaru's henchmen had created a barrier which had a quality that surprised him. With no time to prepare for his sage mode, Jiraiya had to either bust the barrier with an extremely strong attack, or find a way to bypass it. Damn it. Why don't I have Naruto's crazy ability to see through these damned barriers? He thought about his student, who usually could spot weak points in barrier by just touching them. But with four seemingly highly skilled shinobi keeping the barrier up, damaging the barrier would be one hell of a task. Even if one corner weakened, the other three could aid and restore the weakened side. Ah damn it, more distractions, Jiraiya uttered when he saw a small contingent of Otogaker shinobi approach. Carrying the near-exhausted Naruto in between them, Shikamaru and Temari hurried towards the barrier. When they got nearer, Shikamaru began to wonder why he always had to have such a big mouth, which always led him into troublesome situations like these. Even worse, the girl next to him was ever scarier than his own mother, which was a monumental feat, especially in his books. Mothers can be damned scary, especially because they always seem to be able to look straight through you. Not that Shikamaru even bothered to attempt to lie to he was too lazy, and knew full well that it would fail anyway. His father was renowned for his intelligence, but Shikamaru knew that his mother was not far behind him. If it wasn't even the other way around. After all, his father didn't have the guts to lie to her either. But with Temari, he almost pitied the few Otogaker shinobi that had dared to get too close. Obviously, this Temari had never been at the level of a regular genin. She was far too troublesome for that. Though, with a little attention to proper timing, his Kajimane no Jutsu worked pretty well along with her jutsu. He just needed to release his victims a moment before Temari lashed out at them, or receive their blows as well, which was far too troublesome. With remarkably little resistance, the three arrived at their destination. Naruto was a bit suspicious. If this is a full-blown invasion, there should have been more attackers at this place. This feels more like some kind of diversion. Perhaps that ugly-looking guy was right about Gaara and me being the real targets. Then again, what was that Orochimaru doing inside this barrier? This near to it, Naruto could easily sense the malice that Orochimaru radiated. Why would he seal himself off in the middle of an invasion? Naruto wondered. Shikamaru and Temari paid more attention to their surroundings. A large number of corpses were littered around the barrier, and all of them seemed to have Otogaker forehead protectors. So this is why we could get here with so little resistance, Shikamaru realized. I thought it was strange that there wouldn't be any guards when the arena itself was attacked by such a number. But now what? Naruto, can you get through this barrier? Shikamaru urged him. I'd prefer not to stick around this place too long. Tisk, coward, Temari shook her head. It's not like those fools from the hidden sound posed any threat. Stop your bickering, please, Naruto sighed when Shikamaru tried to protest. Unsteadily, he walked towards the barrier. Fire-based, 4 corners, also 4 people keeping it up. Impressive. What are you doing in this place, brat? Yeah, hello to you too, Ero Sennin, Naruto mumbled. Purple flames though, why purple? What are you trying to do? Jiraiya sighed. You're obviously already exhausted. Look at you, you can barely stand up straight. Naruto shrugged, and took a few steps to the left. And why did you two bring him here? And why is someone from Sunagaker on your side? Jiraiya snapped, turning to Shikamaru. He had been frustrated long enough, and annoyed by all the pesky shinobi who continuously distracted him from breaking down the barrier. Temari looked at the man, intimidated by the magnitude of chakra the Sannin radiated, and somewhat frightened by his wild behavior. Shikamaru was equally shaken, but decided to cut off the older man's rant. We brought Naruto here because he said he could open the barrier. Open it, Jiraiya exclaimed. Don't you think I would already have done it if it was that easy? Whatever this Orochimaru has been planning to do in this invasion, this barrier is part of it, Shikamaru countered. Naruto offered a way to disrupt his plans. He's exhausted. Do you want to kill him? Relax, Ero Sennin, Naruto said, calm though unable to hide the exhaustion from his voice. I can only create an opening, so if you want to go through you should take the opportunity. I still have some of the Kyuubi's chakra left, but it will probably only last for a second. Just count yourself lucky that this thing is fire-based, Naruto frowned. His hand was covered in purple flames when he touched the barrier, but as usual fire proved to be harmless to him. Much easier than to have to waste chakra to protect himself as well. I do not know what this Orochimaru is planning, Naruto continued, while Jiraiya was still distracted. You should probably stop him from whatever he is doing though. Jiraiya nodded. That would leave you completely defenseless. Can you promise me that you won't get yourself killed? If you deplete all of your chakra. We won't let him do something that's stupid, Shikamaru promised. Caught off guard by the sudden assassination of the Kazekage, Hiruzen had reacted too late to prevent Orochimaru from dragging him to the top of nearest building. There, 4 of Orochimaru's henchmen had created a barrier, trapping Hiruzen. So, Orochimaru, what are you planning? Hiruzen frowned. I thought this day would come eventually, but, you won't get my head so easily. Orochimaru smirked. He had his arm around the old man's throat and still he did not budge an inch. It was typical for his former sensei, although his bravado could not hide the truth. Sarutobi Hiruzen, the 3rd Hokage, had become an old man. I told you already. You should hurry up and pick your successor, wisely, Orochimaru softly spoke. Because, you will die here, old man. Hiruzen turned his head until he could see Orochimaru's face. Are you that happy? He smirked, seeing the tear in his former pupil's eye. Or, do you still feel some small amount of sadness when you are trying to kill your own sensei? Gay, don't be mistaken, Orochimaru scoffed, wiping the tear out of his eye. I was just tired. I yawned and a tear leaked out, that's all. Hey, I thought so, Hiruzen smiled. It would not have been like you. You're not the type of man to act based solely on emotions, out of vengeance, other than your curiosity. You have neither goals nor reasons for the cruelties you commit. Perhaps I do have a goal, Orochimaru mumbled. I enjoy watching things in motion. The world is a dull place when things are at a standstill, isn't it? Chaos is much more interesting. Orochimaru let Hiruzen free, as he removed his disguise as the Cage's guard. But I see you were expecting me. It wasn't hard to figure out that you were up to something, Hiruzen said, removing his own hat and cloak. All I wonder is whether you attacked Konoha out of your own wishes, or if you are truly the Akatsuki's puppet now. Orochimaru looked at the old man. He had not changed his fighting garb one bit, even after it had been over 15 years since they had last fought each other. It was truly nostalgic. Though Orochimaru felt a little insulted by the suggestion that he merely worked for someone else. Akatsuki is a useful tool for me, for now at least, Orochimaru hissed. Right now, our goals are the same, a crumbling leaf. Your death would throw Konoha into chaos, and thereby disrupt the balance between nations. Hiruzen shrugged. Akatsuki was shrouded in mysteries, with the only real knowledge about them being their name and that they were the world's best band of mercenaries. But he knew well enough that Orochimaru would not spill his secrets so easily. His former student had always had a preference for secrecy. And surely the chaos that Orochimaru mentioned would not be the goal of Akatsuki. He looked around. And it looks like I won't be able to escape easily either. As if you would intend to do such a thing, Orochimaru smiled. You would rather not have anyone get in your way, right? Hiruzen smiled. Even though he started to feel his age, he would not have to worry too much about facing someone like Orochimaru. Besides, barriers like these should not be able to stop Jiraiya for too long. It amused Orochimaru to no end. The professor tried several attack patterns, but Orochimaru blocked or countered them all. To show his former sensei how much he had grown was something that Orochimaru had long wished to do. Orochimaru had not forgotten that he had been lucky to get away with his life the last time he faced Sarutobi Hiruzen. And even now, he had to admit that the old man would have likely been able to hit him once or twice if he had been a little younger. His speed and chakra reserves may have dwindled, but the old man was still a formidable opponent. Not to mention that he had been Orochimaru's example when it came to his desire to learn jutsus. But play time was over. By now, the reinforcements from Sunagaku would have reached Konoha's walls, which should have been breached by the snakes summoned by his subordinates from Otogaku. Although the Kyuubi brat had foiled his plans that had counted on the unleashed Ikibi to be another distraction, the pressure from outside should be sufficient for his loyal Kabuto to collect the dujutsu that Orochimaru wanted so badly at least, until he got his hands on the Sharingan. And sufficient for that Sasori to collect the Jinchuriki brats without interference, and for he himself to deal with Sarutobi Hiruzen. Because this man would continue to be a nuisance to the goals of Akatsuki, with his stupid desire for peace. Good thing his most likely successor would be much more willing to create a little bit more tension in their world. No, Orochimaru knew he should not play around any longer. Your time is up, sensei, he hissed, while executing a fast series of hand seals. Kuchios. Edo Tensai no Jutsu. Hiruzen watched in shock and horror when two coffins rose up, revealing his predecessors upon opening. Hiruzen had only seen his sensei, the second Hokage, use the technique once. Of all people, for him to summon those two. It's been a while, eh, monkey? The second remarked. Monkey. Oh, it's you. You've grown old, Sarutobi, the first wondered. I would not have thought I would meet with you two brothers again in a situation like this. It is regrettable, Hiruzen sighed, his face completely serious now. Even though it was still a far cry from the second's jutsu, Orochimaru had managed to recreate this technique. And it was insulting that he had used it to defile the legendary Shodaime and Nadaime Hokages. The second looked around. So, you're the youngster who summoned us with the forbidden jutsu I invented, huh? Quite impressive, even if you lack proper control. I suppose that would mean that we would have to fight against you, Suru, the first side. But for some which reason Hiruzen could not comprehend, both of the previous cages were unable to move. Orochimaru was able to simply walk towards them and plant a kunai with a tag of his in their heads. With another series of hand seals, Orochimaru increased the strength of his summons, which also made them look more real. But Hiruzen could see that the jutsu took a heavy toll on the pale shinobi. Not that he would be able to exploit that weakness. Not with these two between them. How do you like seeing their true forms again, sensei? Orochimaru smirked. Hiruzen scowled. They look a lot like all those years ago. But they are still nowhere near the real men I once knew. Perhaps, Orochimaru laughed. But they are strong enough to beat you, old man, while I am controlling them. Seeing his sensei's glare only increased Orochimaru's amusement. Jiraiya had seen some of what had transpired inside, but only vaguely because the fiery barrier had mostly blocked his view. But now that he was inside, Naruto had exhausted his last chakra reserves on creating a gap long enough for Jiraiya to slip inside. Jiraiya was glad that the kid would now be taken to a safe place, accompanied by Gameiken. And knowing who he had to face, Jiraiya had thought it would be wise to not hold back a thing. Not that he liked using his sage mode, with both of the elder toads on his shoulders, and his own body transformed, but he knew he would need their strength. But never in his wildest dreams would he have thought to face a wielder of the wood element. How did you? Jiraiya started out, before he saw his sensei dart back, now accompanied by Enma, the Monkey King, who was the old man's personal summon. He then saw who had pushed the Hokage back. Impossible, Jiraiya hissed. Orochimaru scowled. He had felt a disturbance when something had disrupted the barrier for a moment, but he had not expected his former teammate to enter so soon. And how did the fool get this strong? Was this Jiraiya's sage mode, of which he had heard so much? Not even in their fight together as Team Hiruzen, had Orochimaru felt his old teammate's strength like this. Of course, he knew that there were differences between the sage modes taught by the snakes, and those taught by the toads. But for it to be such a difference, this is getting troublesome, Orochimaru considered. Neither the first nor the second are strong enough to face off against Jiraiya right now. Not one-on-one at least, not while I am unable to summon them back with their complete powers. I simply would not be able to properly control them if I made them any stronger, and I don't want them to turn on me. How did this turn out this badly? I thought Jiraiya would have been forced to defend Konoha, leaving the old man to me. But now he has passed the barrier. If he manages to take down either of the two cages. Damn it, and then there is Sarutobi-sensei as well. Things were not going according to plan. Unlike his younger brother, Senju Hashirama was not the censor type. Though, he was also too busy trying to resist Orochimaru's control whenever possible, so it might have been that as well. But Jiraiya did manage to catch the legendary shinobi off guard, and his large Rasengan pretty much blew the former Hokage apart. Sensei! Jiraiya shouted. What is going on? It's the impure world resurrection, kid, Shima, the female elder toad, croaked. She and her husband Fukasaku were small, hardly larger than Gamakichi was right now, but their power was immeasurably greater. As was their wisdom, gained by a great many years of experience. Seems like Ma is right, Fukasaku, sitting on Jiraiya's other shoulder, remarked. And the first and second Hokages, no less. Wasn't that jutsu the one that made the summon indestructible? Shima wondered. Right, better seal that guy away then, Jiraiya-chan, Fukasaku said, casually. Jiraiya saw how the body of the first Hokage was already regenerating. But he was fast enough with his sealing method to trap the legendary man. If he had not caught him off guard, Jiraiya knew he would have had a very difficult fight against the man. His Mokuden was legendary, and for good reason. But he had no time to admire the wooden wilderness that the first Hokage had created inside the barrier, because he saw how the third Hokage was pushed back by the second. Orochimaru gritted his teeth. He knew his control of the Edo Tensei summons was still not perfect, but for the first Hokage to directly reject his orders and allow Jiraiya to hit him, that could be considered a grave miscalculation. Right now, the situation was bad. One of his guards had alerted him that something bad had happened at the arena. Things were not according to plan. Not at all. Now what? With so much chakra spent on the Edo Tensei no Jutsu, I will be at a disadvantage. Nadaime will lose when Jiraiya and Sarutobi sensei gang up on him. And I doubt I could resist Jiraiya as he is now. Not with this limited amount of chakra I have left right now. Orochimaru shook his head in annoyance. He had made a mistake by not waiting until he could transfer to a fresh body. Then again, this had been a unique opportunity. But this current body was already approaching the end of its usefulness. It would last another 6 months, at most. Perhaps a bit more, with Kabuto looking after it. But the rejection had already started. Orochimaru sighed. At least I got my hold on Sasuke-kun. And with Kabuto grabbing the Byakugan for me, I have all the things I need. And I only had to make sure the old goat died. Sad that I cannot humiliate him properly, but right now, I should focus on getting away without getting damaged, or worse. Orochimaru pulled out his blade. It was coated with the deadliest poisons he had, the sword of Kusanagi. This legendary sword could pierce anything, and its ability to extend and retract its blade upon command was also very useful right now. Orochimaru signaled his 4 guards to pay close attention and remove the barrier on his command. Now all he needed to do was to let the Nadaime make sure that Hiruzen stood still for just a moment. Dodging Enma, the Monkey King, Senju Tobirama charged forward at his former student. Keep moving, Saru, he warned, defying his master's control. Sarutobi Hiruzen nodded, but was heavily pressured. He had been wondering if he had to use his ace, the one technique Orochimaru would not know about, yet would still be powerful enough to subdue all 3 of Hiruzen's attackers. But then Jiraiya stepped in. But shaking off the second Hokage, even if the latter did not have access to his full power and abilities, was no easy thing to do. Especially not for an old, and already worn-out man like Hiruzen. Sweetana, Tobirama exclaimed, spitting out a needle-sharp blast of water, aimed at Hiruzen. Forced to dodge, Hiruzen jumped left. And hit a tree. Using this distraction, the second Hokage grabbed the third, while Enma and Jiraiya charged at them. But both of them were too late. The extending blade of the sword of Kusanagi had already pierced the trees. It pierced the second Hokage. And then, the third. Using the subsequent confusion as his cover, Orochimaru and his 4 guards, who had just taken down their barrier, now ran across the rooftops of Konoha. Only now the snake summoner could see the extent of the damage his troops and those of Sunagakure had done to Konoha. And it disappointed him greatly. Sure, he had calculated that Konoha would not go down, not while both his former teammates Tsunade and the Mizukage had unexpectedly shown up in Konoha. In their preparations, these two had never been expected to participate in the fights, but still, the walls should have been breached. The shinobi from Sunagakure should have joined his troops from Otogakure, and at least have caused more damage to Konoha than Orochimaru could now see. Of course, their plan had also included a raging Biju in the center of the village. But to Orochimaru's great disappointment, the annoying Jinchuriki from Konoha, that Uzumaki Naruto, had defeated Sabaku no Gaara. This day had turned out to be far less entertaining than Orochimaru had hoped, but at least his poisoned blade had pierced Sarutobi Hiruzen. And Orochimaru knew that his sensei's inevitable death would likely cause far more chaos than this single invasion. Now he needed to hurry to the rendezvous point first, and see how Sasori and Kabuto had succeeded in their tasks. Jiraiya seized his wounded sensei and prevented him from falling when the blade retracted. I am sorry, the resurrected second Hokage panted. Hiruzen. I managed to change the blade's course, a little. Jiraiya looked as his body crumbled. The jutsu is lifted. My brother and I, we will be at peace once more. Senju Tobirama spoke his last words. Hunt down our summoner. He will be dangerous, but for now, Saru will die, the blade was poisoned. In that case we should bring him to a healer as quick as possible, Shima croaked, when the former Hokage had passed on once more, leaving behind the body of an Anbu who had gone missing during the second round of the exams. Jiraiya-chan, she urged him. Ma is right, We should hurry now. If you act quick you could prolong the Hokage's life a little, Fukasaku for once agreed with his wife. Jiraiya ended his sage mode, and the two toads disconnected from his shoulders. Fukasaku-sama, please hurry and get Tsunade to the hospital. She will be near the gates. Orochimaru and his 4 guards landed at the rendezvous point, and to Orochimaru's surprise, they were the first ones to arrive. Orochimaru-sama, one of the 4 spoke up, seeing their master's expression. During the invasion, there was some sort of tornado of blue flames at the arena. I do not know who or what was behind it, but whatever it was, it had more chakra than the Aikibi. Far more. The Nibi. So, Yugito had acted against her orders, Orochimaru gritted his teeth. Then Sasori would have had no chance. He wasted too much chakra on those beloved, sleeper agents, of his. Besides, that creature would have been impervious to his poisons. She was rumored to be the second strongest Jinchuriki for a reason. For the time, at least. If that Uzumaki brat continues to develop like this. Any word about Kabuto? He demanded. My lord, we have not seen him, and considering his task he should have arrived here already. Orochimaru's glare was enough to frighten the 4 into silence. Kabuto, of all my servants you were the only one who was not expendable, Orochimaru pondered. And with your skill, grabbing that girl and escaping from Konoha should have been easy. No, the only reason for you to be late would be if someone strong had held you up. But that would not make sense. The seats arranged for that girl were apart from all the strongest Jonin, as well as her own family. She had no guards worth noting, so unless we were tricked, had he sent Kabuto into a trap. I would not expect him to be petty enough to feel any sort of grudge against his former spy. No, he would have placed his own interests over some petty emotion like that. After all, it only served in his best interests. Perhaps some other Jonin was close. But there shouldn't be many that could oppose Kabuto, and with the invasion going on the odds would be. Damn this accursed village. If Sasori has fallen, and Kabuto had not been able to escape the arena before that, we should presume he died. What a disappointment, Orochimaru hissed. We will move to our nearest lair. And our leader would not be very happy to hear about our failure either. No, it would be better to cut my ties with Akatsuki before he hears about it. Besides, it is not as if I need them any longer. I got all the information I need. At least, all the information they would be willing to share. Now I should focus on luring Sasuke-kun in. This is not good, Jiraiya, Tsunade said with a worried expression. I stabilized his situation for now, and Shizune is working on the antidote, but I highly doubt we will be very successful at this point. Has the poison spread that fast? This is Orochimaru we are talking about. We both know about his fascination with poisons, she sighed. If nothing can be done about the poison, I could keep Sensei alive for a few days at most. Jiraiya grimaced, but had already braced himself for the worst scenario. Suddenly, he thought of something. Tsunade, Naruto when he met Orochimaru in the Forest of Death, he mentioned being poisoned too. Do you think there is any chance he used the same poison? Tsunade blinked and considered the possibilities. Even if it was not the exact same poison, but something similar, there was a chance that Naruto had built up some resistance against that. I will try. We're in luck, he is only 2 rooms away from here. I know. I had Gameken carry him, Shikamaru, and that sand girl here. Jiraiya, I know you don't want it, but for now you should focus on leading Konoha. I'll look after Sensei. What? Jiraiya exclaimed. The village is in chaos now, the wounded are still being brought in, and we have counted at least 200 dead now. And that number will rise, Tsunade sighed. Take Sensei's place, if only for a little while. Before the clan leaders start messing everything up even further, or that, even worse, someone like Danzo steps in to lead Konoha. Jiraiya massaged his forehead. This day, alright then, I'll do it. And I just saw the Mizukage, escorting that Jonin from Sunagakur, it seemed like that guy wants to have a word with you too. Jiraiya had already hurried off. He had a lot to do now. Dad, Mom, Sakura shouted, finally arriving back at home. Kakashi and several other Jonin had closed off the infirmary at the arena when the fighting had started, and left her there to guard the wounded and the medics. Not that any of the invaders had gotten through. I'm home, she shouted, rushing into the living room. She had been worried sick about her parents, but had not gotten a chance to return home earlier. The invasion had ended 2 hours earlier. After Orochimaru had fled, the remaining Oto Nin had dropped their weapons when they had realized they would not get reinforcements from Sunagaku. Sakura walked on, into the kitchen, and finally saw her father. Dad, why didn't you say anything? Sakura wondered. Dad, she became worried when he slowly turned to her. His bewildered expression, his red eyes. Sakura shivered, suppressing the urge to run away. No, no, this can't be, it cannot, she thought, before her father opened his mouth. With a cracked voice, he explained that they were going home when the invasion started, that there had been a large snake, charging through the streets. Sakura felt as if her heart broke, as if the ground under her feet fell away, when her crying father told her the news. Her mother had died. Standing on the shore, he looked at the crimson tide. The sun finally rose up, heralding a day after this long night. All the burdens lost with time, the sun rose up and erased the shadow it had cast behind it. He heard whispers, but saw no one. Was he still sane? He looked up at the starry skies, which he knew would soon to be replaced by the splendor of the sun, and wondered where he was. He looked down and saw the shadows created by the rising sun. He wanted to feel free, boundless, but he was tied to the earth. The shadows kept following him, no matter where he went, encroaching upon him like his own doom. Then he realized that he could only see the shadows because the sun began to rise. That he had already been living in the darkness. Light created shadow. Hope created pain. Love created hatred. Having longed to see the sun's warmth for so long, he now wanted to escape. He loved the light, but feared it for the shadows it created. Choose, a voice whispered. He looked around. The crimson tide at one side, the darkness of night at the other. He stood in the middle, wondering what he wanted to see. What was it that he was used to seeing? Why did he desire light, but fear the shadows it created? Choose, the whisper repeated. What was he? Where was he? Who did he hear? As he began to think, he saw the doves and birds, the grass and trees. He began to realize that he had been walking around in the darkness of night, blind to the world around him. Choose. But choose what? The sun crept up, and the more its light filled his world, the more details he began to see. Was that his choice? The warmth and light of life, which was bound to the shadows of loss and despair, or the simple darkness of death and oblivion? It is time, the voice whispered. Yes, he realized now that he had to make his choice. He remembered little from the night, his heart empty and cold, while the sun began to color his life. He made his choice, even if that choice would hurt him. He would bear the pain, no matter what. He would endure. He turned and walked towards the shore, feeling the cold, wet sand under his bare feet. I made my choice, he said to the whispering voice. Even though the whispering voice remained silent, he could feel its approval. Bathing in his own sweat, Naruto woke in his hospital bed. It was still in the middle of the night, disorienting him. Where was he? What were all these things attached to him? Vaguely remembering a nightmare, Naruto felt the thumping sensation in his right hand. A nurse hurried to him. Uzumaki-san, are you all right? She asked him. Naruto was still dazed and it took him a moment before he realized what she asked. Yes. Yes, I made a choice. The nurse looked at him, not sure whether he was really awake, or just delirious from his fever. You should sleep, Uzumaki-san. You need to recover. Naruto blinked, and dropped back on his bed, after realizing he was sitting up. He was already asleep before the nurse got the chance to tug him in properly. She wondered if this boy really was the fearsome demon that some said he was. Chapter 34. Aftermath. After days of negotiations, hearing reports, and giving orders, Jiraiya got some more rest. He had temporarily occupied his sensei's office, considering it was a central position in the village and had access to all the resources he needed. But he didn't like sitting in a chair that wasn't his. These days had been a disaster. The official number was 683 civilians and 239 shinobi dead. Not to mention that there were at least 8,000 wounded, including about 500 heavily wounded. Konoha had suffered a severe blow, that was easy enough to conclude even without reports. The preparations for the attack, which they had expected, had nearly been undone by the sudden turn of many shinobi. Fortunately, when they regained their self-control upon the death of the Akatsuki member manipulating them, the fights had been ended quickly. But many good men and women had already lost their lives, at the hands of their own comrades. No, the greatest issue was that the Hokage was mortally injured, Jiraiya concluded. Jiraiya had had to spend a lot of time convincing people that Hiruzen had not died yet, Shimura Danzo most of all, and the old War Hakken Council elder insisted on immediate countermeasures against Sunagaku, as part of a campaign of retribution. In the heat of emotions, many people agreed with him. However, Jiraiya had convinced them to stop being foolish, and to focus on repairing the village first. One could not strike when their defenses were in such a bad condition. In any case, when Jiraiya wondered aloud in council where Danzo had been during the invasion, the man had refused to answer. Jiraiya's question and Danzo's refusal to answer did create a lot of frowns among the people gathered, just as Jiraiya had intended. This was understandable because Danzo and his division of Anbu, called Root, were supposed to be good assets, yet for some reason they had chosen to not participate in the battle while the invading army killed Konoha people. Although Danzo had pulled back for the time being, Jiraiya knew enough to expect him to return in the next council meeting. The other two elders would likely be equally troublesome. This was exactly the reason why Jiraiya had always refused an official position in Konoha. He did not possess the patience to deal with all the idiotic political games while lives were at stake. Sure, political ploys could save many lives. It was unfortunate that at least as many were threatened by it, Jiraiya groused to himself. Luckily, not everything had been bad. First of all, the Mizukage was celebrated throughout Konoha for her role during the invasion. Secondly, Jiraiya had had a long conversation with Baki, the Jonin commander from Sunagaku who had now held the highest position in their village. With the death of one of the members of Akatsuki, a lot had been clarified. Baki had explained that that man, or at least, what had once been a man, was the infamous Sasori of the Red Sands. And that the man had been feared because of his ability to not only control puppets, but also had a jutsu to control people. Baki admitted that while it seemed a convenient thing to say now, he and many other Jonin had indeed thought that the behavior of the Kazekage had been strange. After all, the relations between Iwagakure and Sunagaku were bad, so Sunagaku would only have jeopardized its own position by declaring war on Konohagakure. As such, Baki had offered full apologies on behalf of Sunagaku, and had offered to lead his men in a full-scale retreat. In addition, he had also offered to change a few of the current conditions in the peace treaty between their nations in Konoha's favor, which was especially attractive when looking at the trade sector. Jiraiya knew full well that Baki offered this because Sunagaku was not in a financial position to repay Konoha in any other way. Jiraiya had agreed for now, although he stated that this had to be approved by the Hokage and the council first. Therefore, he had ordered Baki to retreat all Suna shinobi from the Land of Fire. However, the children from the Kazekage would remain in Konoha as hostages, just as the body of the Kazekage, especially interesting for the bloodline it carried, would remain in Konoha for the time being. Thinking back, Jiraiya smiled at the reluctance with which Baki had agreed, not really willing to leave his pupils behind. Especially because it also meant that Sunagaku would temporarily lose control of its Jinchuriki. But Baki was smart enough to admit that he had no other choice but to accept these terms. Konohagakure had every right to see the invasion as an act of betrayal, and thus declare war. The Mizukage had agreed with this view, stating that carrying out the invasion while she was present was also seen as an act of aggression towards Kurigakure. Baki had shuddered at the thought that his village would have had to fight two other nations, with Iwagakure undoubtedly ready to exploit the situation as well. Sasori had put Sunagaku in a situation where it was completely doomed if it had not been forgiven for this invasion attempt. Regardless, Jiraiya did not like politics. But at least one piece of good news had made his temporary burden a lot lighter. Using Naruto's blood, and the resistance he had created against Orochimaru's poison, Tsunade had created an antidote for Hiruzen. Using this, she had succeeded in healing him. Well, healing was probably overstating it. The fate of Sarutobi Hiruzen had already been sealed, but instead of a couple of days in intense pain, he now had several weeks in relatively good health before the poison would claim his life. All in all, the damage the poison had done to Hiruzen's old body during these last few days had been irreversible. Jiraiya frowned as he thought back at the expression of his old teammate. It seemed to him like Tsunade would blame herself for yet another person's death. The woman had never changed, always expecting too much from herself. Jiraiya guessed that living under her grandfather's shadow had made such large self-expectations inevitable. After all, the same kind of expectations had caused the untimely death of most of her family. And Hiruzen accepted his fate, Jiraiya surmised. He knew he did not have a lot of time left to him, but at least the old man could appoint a successor before he died, avoiding a lot of conflict in their village. It wasn't the most honorable death, but at least the man had chuckled when stating that he really still was a shinobi, enduring and doing his duty to the bitter end. And Jiraiya knew that his old teacher valued duty more than glory. But once things were resolved, Jiraiya would finally be able to leave in order to train Naruto properly, especially now that the lad had gained a different social standing. That was the last of the things that were good in Jiraiya's books. At first, a mob of people had gathered in front of the hospital, demanding that Naruto would be imprisoned, banished, or even executed. However, there were also those who protested against all this. Knowing that the situation could get out of hand, especially because Tsunade would lose her temper, Jiraiya had interceded and the group had dissolved naturally. In the end, rumors of Naruto being the one who saved Konoha began to spread. Jiraiya was curious to see how this would turn out. Perhaps it was a possibility that the people of Konoha would forget their prejudgment against Naruto, Jiraiya wondered. After all, Naruto had shown in a brilliant way that he was capable of controlling the Kyuubi's chakra. And that he controlled the monster, rather than the other way around, was one thing the people would never have believed before. But now they nodded when Jiraiya said it, thinking about the horror the Ikibi could have inflicted on Konoha, if things had gone differently, if Naruto had not stopped the Biju. What Jiraiya did not say aloud, however, was that he was concerned about the fourth seal on Naruto. Forcing such quantities of chakra through it would not benefit the seal's strength, to say the least. 2 days later Jiraiya walked through the hospital, after getting another piece of good news. Good morning, Naruto, he smiled widely, after entering the boy's room. Finally, the boy had woken up from his injuries. Well, not conventional injuries, he had nearly depleted all of his chakra, and had remained in a strange sort of coma afterwards. Even Tsunade had not understood why he had not woken up earlier. Morning, Ero Sennin, Naruto answered. Jiraiya was glad that the boy at least looked pretty good. Much better than when he had nearly died on his mission before the exams had started. How are you feeling? Pretty good, Naruto replied. Jiraiya was a bit bothered by his pensive look. Seems like I was out for a while. 5 days, kid, the toad sage sighed. I told you to be careful with that barrier. Did it work? No one wanted to tell me how the invasion ended. It worked, and thanks to you the Hokage is still alive. Naruto looked sharply when Jiraiya said that. The word, still, had not escaped him. We still have a few weeks, according to Tsunade, Jiraiya sighed. Needless to say that this is a matter of the utmost secrecy. Only a handful of people are aware of this. But seeing how it was your blood that extended the old man's life, I thought you deserved to know. Orochimaru slipped up when he used his poison against you. Tell me about it. Naruto grimaced. So Konoha has taken quite a blow, he sighed. How is Ji-san? Is he in the hospital too? How are the others? The old man is stable now. He is weak, but capable of doing things as long as he takes it easy. But his body is poisoned, and no one can stop the poison from spreading. We just moved him to his office, along with all the medical equipment he needs. As for the others, your team will be visiting you later. Apart from some minor injuries, they were fine. They'll also tell you more about the invasion. Jiraiya grimaced. He did not know how to break the news about Haruki's death, and decided to follow the request of the Hyuga girl, Akko, who wanted to tell Naruto herself. But Jiraiya felt like he needed to give Naruto at least a warning. But I will not lie, Naruto, a lot of people have died, and many more were wounded, Jiraiya sighed. Still, many now see you as the hero who stopped the one-tailed Biju. Well, I'd say they are equally thankful and scared, but it's an improvement of the former situation, I suppose. But personally, I wanted to thank you. If Gaara had really been unleashed on Konoha, things would have been a lot worse. How is he? And Yugito? They are both fine. Yugito killed that guy from Akatsuki, the one who attacked you and Gaara. Gaara and his siblings are currently held in custody, although I have arranged it so that the two of us can visit him any time. Officially, just to check up on his seal, though I admit you did a very good job on it. I hardly found any weakness in it. Jiraiya smiled, proud that his student had progressed so much. Well, he didn't say that there was a mistake in it, but that had technically been Jiraiya's fault, and not Naruto's. Hardly. Naruto chuckled. Well, fine. I would like to talk to him anyway. After all, I suppose he is some kind of brother to me. Even if we are not related by blood, we share similar fates. Jiraiya smiled, and stood up from the seat he had taken. You get something to eat first. Kurenai and the others will be here in an hour. We will talk about Gaara's seal later. As Naruto watched his unofficial teacher walk away, he worried why the man had such a troubled expression on his face. It fitted perfectly with the sense of wrongness that Naruto had ever since he woke up. Something is wrong. But what? Naruto frowned. After he had slept for an hour, or perhaps longer, as Naruto had lost track of time in the boredom of a hospital, his team visited him. Well, his team plus Akko, who looked extremely uncomfortable and sad. Naruto frowned. First Jiraiya acting odd, and now Akko too. What? Where is Haruki? Naruto realized. What's wrong, Akko? The girl seemed to want to leave when he spoke up, but Kurenai put a hand on her shoulder. Naruto, we're sorry we have to tell you this, but the invasion, the Jonin started, her gentle voice having an odd tremor. During the exam, someone tried to take Hinata away. Naruto grimaced. Who? Don't worry about him. Two-leg, she said, jumping onto his bed. But even the cat sounded a bit off to him. She did not boast with her usual bravado. Haruki killed him. Akko sniffed, and tried to hold back her tears. But Haruki got injured. Naruto felt as if he suddenly froze, as he listened to them tell what happened, how Akko apologized for not being able to help, how Kurenai was sorry she was not there, how she regretted not being stronger, and how Haruki had fallen while taking down one of Orochimaru's henchmen. Seeing the emotions the boy was going through, Hinata had to suppress her urge to run to him. Naruto looked so fragile now, so lonely. Haruki himself had asked her to help him whenever she could, but right now, she did not know how to help him. He had just lost the man who practically raised him, so what could she say or do to lessen his pain? Remaining silent for a moment, as he did not trust his own voice, Naruto decided to speak again. None of you, he sighed. None of you should blame yourself. He noticed the looks of the others, and swallowed. Haruki told me he was dying, that he had been poisoned and his body was growing weaker and weaker. I know that this man would never ever blame any of you for his death. And neither will I, Naruto said with a determined look. You know, he was frustrated because he had become that weak, but now he has gotten the honorable death he wanted. What? The teary Akko managed to talk. He never told you, Akko, because you never wanted to hear it, Naruto smiled gently. Though she was several years older than him, he knew her aversion to these kinds of things all too well. She was too gentle, while he never had any other choice but to face the cold facts. His burden did not allow him to do otherwise. Perhaps that was why Haruki understood him. Naruto realized, the man must have seen his illness as a similar burden. Both were inescapable. The burial, Kurenai said. We decided it would be best if the burial was delayed a little, so that you could be there too. And with the amount of casualties, it was not difficult to arrange. Thank you. Naruto bent his head, blinking to hold back the tears he felt. Thank you for telling me. Thank you all. Naruto, Akko said hesitantly, while she rummaged through her pack. Haruki left this behind, with instructions that it is for you, in case he died. I thought you would want to read it. She handed over a sealed letter. As they had agreed, the company left after handing over the letter. They knew Naruto would need time to accept this. Hinata knew that, even though he did not lie, he still hid his real emotions. She wanted to talk with him so badly about Haruki, about him, about his actions throughout the years, about why he had acted as her silent guard. But, she knew she had to wait. He needed time. She could hardly understand what it would be like to lose someone so close to you. She had it right. No matter what Naruto knew, it hurt him more than anything that Haruki had died. Losing someone so close to you was worse than loneliness, worse than being hated. Naruto. As a contingency, I ask Akko to keep this letter and give it to you when I pass away. I pray that the seal upon it is still intact, or else I bid you to be very careful as secrets might be leaked, and several people might be in danger. I have written this story in case I died before having the chance to tell it to you myself, as it is a subject that I am reluctant to talk about. I will start with the story of our clan, so that you will understand everything. Several generations ago, before the founding of Konoha, and before the system of the hidden villages was established, the Hyuga clan was a wandering clan like many others. Clans which have now become our allies had once been our opponents, as we lived from the money we earned by fighting. History tells us it was a time of chaos and never-ending strife. In that chaos, the Hyuga clan tried to protect its secrets at all costs. The constant threat of other clans pursuing our Byakugan created the need for a sealing method that would render the theft of our eyes pointless. Thus the seal, the Hyuga's Juinjutsu, came to be. This seal had as its main purpose the sealing of the Byakugan at the death of one of our clan member, so that its secrets never fall into the hands of the enemy. It was a seal applied to each and every member, from its highest leader to its lowest servant. But over time it has, as you know, developed into a curse. The main family tells us that it had always been part of our clan, but that has been a lie. Just like the supposed superiority of the main house is a lie. The cursed seal was created after conflict within our clan, before we joined Konoha. Our clan has always been proud. The history of the Hyuga clan is said to go back to the times when shinobi first came to be. Like our allies, the Senju, and even the Uchiha, we belong to the oldest clans in the world. But where those two clans had suffered greatly from their rivalry, the Hyuga clan was mostly unharmed. And its power, both in quality and quantity, surpassed that of most other clans. The hidden history of the Hyuga clan tells us that the clan leader at that time refused to join Konoha, and instead aimed to found his own hidden village. However, a part of the clan saw the benefits of an alliance, especially because of the power of the first Hokage, and the threat of the other, new, villages that emerged after taking Konohagakure as their example. But more than a desire for power, there was a strong hunger for wealth. Among those wanting the benefits of the alliance, was the youngest son of the clan leader. Historians tell us that it was an accident which led to the deaths of most of the leading family, but it is not difficult to see who benefited most from the deaths of his family, the same youngest son, who now was the last of the leading family. But many saw through his lies, and tried to defect. However, he and those that followed him deceived the defectors. To enforce his rule, the new clan leader somehow altered the protective seal into the cursed seal we now know. Those that had followed him, and those that had been bribed with his promises of wealth and power, became the main family, and remained free from our curse. And those who had tried to defect from the clan, or those who were simply not trusted enough, then became the branch family. Servants. The history books will never tell you this truth though, and now only a very few know about the truth, and those who know either remain silent or know that they disappear when they talk. The main house will never allow Konoha to know the truth, as it would destroy the foundations of their power. Their pride and reputation would be shattered. They would never allow others to learn about how they have stolen their wealth from the branch. Property was the first thing taken, but over the decades that followed, the repression of the main house, which only formed a minority within the clan, increased. People lost not just their possessions, but over the generations they also lost their rights. One liberty after another was lost, until those in the branch were little more than slaves. Those in power tried to protect their positions, eliminating those who could threaten their positions. That is also why the siblings of clan leaders received the cursed seal. Or, as it is also called, the caged bird seal. The greed and abuse from the main house created much hatred within the branch. When I grew up as a child, I too became a victim of this cycle. I call it a cycle because the hatred and defiance of the branch only increased the repression from the main family. My situation only became worse when I met the women I loved. Like myself, Minako was from the branch family. Our marriage, however, was not approved at first because a man from the main family desired her hand in marriage. But our love was strong and she refused that man, and eventually, because I was the grandson of the previous clan leader, my father was the younger brother of the current clan leader at that time, our marriage was approved. The greatest regret in my life was that Minako died before we could marry. Days before the ceremony, she and her team were sent out on a mission by the Hokage. She and her teammates died that day. But, like with so many other incidents, proof could never be found, yet I knew this had not been a coincidence. In my search for the truth, I inspected the place where Minako had died, and found some traces. I was mad from sorrow and was too reckless, and I walked into a trap. Men disguised as Anbu from our very own village attacked me. Though I killed them, they managed to poison me. The main family has a strong position in the political system of Konoha, and was able to hide away the evidence of this attack as well. Official reports stated that the attack had been an attempt from foreign shinobi to capture the Byakugan. I, however, was not alone. My cousin, who had recently married the eldest son of the clan head, shared her suspicions of the many crimes committed by the main family. Since I had nothing to lose, I told her my story, and from that moment I worked together with her to uncover the secrets hidden by those in power. The account of the real history of the Hyuga clan that I just gave you is one of our results. After the clan leader stepped down, and Hiyashi took his place, I managed to avenge my wife. And with the support of the woman who was now the second most powerful person in our clan, I escaped from the repercussions. Hitomi, however, urged me to set aside my hatred. She made me see that the hatred that threatened to consume me, as most of the branch, only led to more misery and death. Or else my thirst for vengeance would never be quenched. From that moment on, she and I secretly made an effort to improve the position of the branch. We wanted to give our clan a better system. But first, the branch would have to realize that the hatred was just as much a prison as our cursed seal is. In that time you became the honored guest of our clan, and Hitomi arranged that I would become your guardian as long as you chose to stay with us. In your situation within the village, she saw the same mistreatment as the branch family suffered. And we wished to make you a shining example of how people could, and should, act. Therefore, I hope that you feel no anger or hatred, in case my death too was under suspicious circumstances. I wholeheartedly believe in your strength, Naruto. I know you will aid Hitomi-sama in her quest to redeem the Hyuga. I never wanted you to be involved in this hidden battle, but your protection of Hinata-sama made it inevitable nonetheless because many in the main family would rather see Hinata dead than have her lead the clan. Yet it is her compassion that is the key to a better future. Minako and I always wished to have a son, but unfortunately fate did not allow us this pleasure. But know that I am proud to have been part of your life, Naruto. We may not be related in blood, but I have always seen you as the son I never had. It fills me with pride to see you endure the village's hatred, to see that you, despite the enormity of your burden, remained a good person. If I would have one final wish, it would be to request you to never give in to hatred. I know you had a role in the disappearances within our clan, and I am glad that you use your power to protect those whose lives are threatened by the greed and hatred of our clan. But I pray you will never lose yourself in the burdens of the Hyuga clan. I know how tempting it is to keep chasing for a vengeance you can never have. You are better than that. Your power and talent are unmatched. Remain strong, Naruto, and remember that it is good to dream of the future, but you must always remember that you live in the present. Too many have made the mistake of becoming obsessed by their pasts. Too many have been consumed by their regrets. Too many have lost hope in better future. I would have liked to see you realize your dream, and I am sorry I was not able to help you more. But do not grieve too much for me. I have accepted my fate long ago. My death was inevitable, and I admit I even long for it, to finally be with Minako again, in the afterlife. I wish you will have a long and blessed life. I know you will always do what is right. I know you will only continue to make me proud. You will become the greatest Hokage the world has ever seen. Goodbye. Hyuga Haruki. Alone in his hospital room, Naruto was finally able to cry. For the first time in many years, he shed tears like a child, without controlled tears for losing the man who had been the closest thing to a father to him. Ah, I've had enough of this, the Kyuubi's voice resounded through Naruto's head. Shortly afterward, Naruto felt being pulled inwards again, and then saw the demon in front of him. What? Naruto sighed. I'm in no mood for your games right now. Tisk. So much for the thank you for your chakra attitude, the fox grumbled. But I would like it if you stopped your sulking around. It's getting rather annoying seeing this for hours. Naruto shrugged and turned away in his mindscape. Are you really that surprised that this clan you lived in was so rotten? I thought you killed enough of their members to know that they are just as hideous as any other human, no matter how conceited they behave. Do I still need to tell you that the more those pathetic creatures try to look perfect, the more horrors they have committed? So what? Then you are grieving for an already dying man who finally found his peace. The Kyuubi scoffed. Pathetic. Even when he wrote you that. Shut up. Naruto suddenly snapped. Just because you do not care about anyone but yourself, doesn't mean I am completely indifferent. I wish I was, but I'm not. Naruto sat down and looked pensively. I already knew something was wrong about the Hyuga. But what Haruki now explained to me in these final words of his, it goes much deeper than I had ever expected. Did you really expect humans to be capable of being good? I've been around for centuries, and I always see the same pattern. Humans always fall for their greed, gluttony, sloth, wrath, envy, pride, or lust. And yet there are also those who do good things, Naruto remarked. Perhaps, but it is always a minority. Just look at what this Haruki became. He had fallen for wrath before he was finally shown how wrong he was. We all make mistakes, Naruto frowned. But you are right. It is a minority who is capable of good. But if they are shown the right direction, you should not underestimate the human potential for doing good, you focus way too much on their bad side. What are you planning this time? The Kyuubi groaned. Your idiotic dream about becoming Hokage again. No. It isn't me who can change the Hyuga, Naruto pondered, though I will become Hokage. And you had better believe me, as you will be the first to see it, Naruto grumbled. Perhaps, the fox whispered to himself, after Naruto left. But not if I continue weakening that accursed seal of yours. You stupid brat, you'll never become Hokage if you keep accepting my help, without thinking about the consequences of using so much of my chakra, the fox chuckled darkly. Following the advice both Kurenai and Hitomi had given her, Hinata left Naruto alone that day. They argued that he would need some time alone to sort things out for himself. Not knowing what to do herself, Hinata had decided that they would be right. But as much as she had wanted to talk to him that day, the following morning she found herself hesitating when she stood in front of the door to his room. What should I say? What can I say to make Naruto-kun feel a bit better? She pondered. Especially me. No matter what he said, I know that Haruki-san died because he protected me. Surely Naruto-kun knows this. Will he blame me? I should have been able to detect that genjutsu. A true heir would never have fallen for that. If I was not so incompetent, I could have helped Haruki-san. Lost in her desperate thoughts, Hinata nearly jumped when the door suddenly opened. A nurse left Naruto's room. With a frown, the woman remarked that Naruto was awake and ready to see others. But Hinata's well-trained eyes saw a lot more. This nurse was afraid, very afraid. But it was not just that, the woman was also intimidated. Not by her, Hinata realized, but by Naruto. It was not very surprising either, as many people now whispered how Naruto had unleashed a terrible power, and used that to save the village from Tsunogakure's sand demon. Most of the stories even exaggerated Naruto's abilities. Hinata was happy that no one would ever underestimate her teammate again. But it frightened her when she saw how terrified the people were. How would they treat Naruto now? At least his actions spoke in his favor. But how long would it take before their fear got the upper hand again? Hinata-sama, Naruto said softly. His face was pale and the bags under his eyes indicated he had not slept well. If he even had any sleep at all. Naruto-kun, Hinata hesitated. Do you mind, if I enter? Naruto frowned. Of course not. Please, sit down. I could use some distraction in this boring place. They won't even let me get out of bed. All because of a little chakra exhaustion, he grumbled. It was more than just that, Naruto-kun. Yeah, Naruto sighed. Jiraiya has already scolded me enough for it already. Hell, even that cowardly old cow tried to scold me this morning. But I did what had to be done. I heard that thanks to you, Hokage-sama survived the battle, Hinata said shyly. Just as you stopped Tsunagaku's Jinchuriki before it could be turned against our village, why you are a hero now, she blushed lightly. Hero? Naruto scoffed. I'd rather not be a hero of the same people that hate and fear me. Besides, I couldn't even help the people close to me. Some hero I am. Hinata swallowed. You see could not help it that Haruki-san died. Because of me, Tisk. Haruki would smack me if I ever blamed someone for his death. Hell, he would smack me twice if I blamed myself. And I would not be able to count the number of hits if I blamed you, Naruto chuckled softly. He fell back onto the pillow on his bed. I just wish I could have been there. To have talked one last time with him. But, I'm serious, Hinata, I can see it in your eyes, you're blaming yourself because you guys were attacked because that snake bastard wanted to catch you. There is no need for you to blame yourself. Haruki would not have wanted it, Naruto said gently. Haruki was already dying. If anything, this gave him the chance to die in battle, rather than in a wretched hospital bed. Naruto turned his head and looked out of the window. I know Haruki would be thankful. So be at peace, Hinata-sama. Unable to control herself, tears ran down the young girl's face. No matter what anyone had said, no matter what she knew about him, she had feared he would blame her. She even thought it would have been logical to be angry. After all, Haruki was practically like a father to him. Much more than her own father had ever been to Hinata. But why were people always after her? She was the failure, the unfit heir. Why would others risk their lives to save her? As if he could see what she thought, Naruto spoke up. Haruki was a gentle and good man. He could never sit by idly, when the lives of others were at risk. He smiled gently, his bright blue eyes looking at her. And he was one of the few in the branch family who saw the truth. He knew you would be the perfect clan head. Wah, what? Hinata gasped. Did I hear him right? I couldn't have. The Hyuga clan is a cold and unforgiving place. But you are like your mother. You could create the change your clan needs. You can't be serious, Hinata spoke with a tremor in her voice. I am a failure. I am not talented, I am weak and cannot even. Hinata. Naruto loudly cut her off. With her eyes wide open, she stared at him, surprised by his strict tone. Do not believe your father's idiotic reasoning. Leadership is not about brute strength. And true strength is about more than just ability. Look at your clan. For generations it lived under the impression that strength was everything, that the one who leads, the one with the so-called purest bloodline, would also be the strongest. Do you honestly believe that bogus way of thinking made your clan any better? Well, no b but. The strong always try to subdue the weak. That's why people fear me. That's why the Hyuga live like this, Naruto sighed. Look at the relation between the main and branch houses. Look at Neji, and how he suffered. You told me that yourself. You asked me to spare him exactly because of it. He raised his hands. And now you've seen me, how much did you guess? What? Your fire jutsu. I know, that several in our clan disappeared. Akko-san and Haruki-san. They told me what you did. Why did you do all that? I would rather ask you why they were after your life, Naruto pointed out. Hinata only shook her head in confusion. Hinata, those people saw you as a threat. They fear the strength you have. Many in the main house rely on the way they can exploit the branch. If you would come of age, and take your rightful position, would you allow the branch to be suffering as they do? No, of course I would not want that, but is that why? Your mother knows. Haruki knew. Naruto frowned. I, on the other hand, never cared much for clan politics. I merely did what I thought was right. I just sensed the malice in people. I noticed people that had bad intentions towards you. And I dealt with them. I told you long ago. You saved me. So how could I let someone hurt my savior? But Hinata knew that this was not true. He had saved her before he even joined her clan. Hinata remembered exactly how they first met. She often dreamt of that moment. How Naruto had stood there, with doubt only surfacing in his wonderful blue eyes for a moment. How Naruto had risked his life against an opponent vastly superior to him, just to save her. Why me? She asked again. Because of you, I could leave the cesspits they call orphanages. That is why I vowed to repay you. To protect you. That is why I killed those that threatened you. Why didn't you say anything? Why didn't you tell father? Do you think Hyuga Heihachi would believe my word over that of some of the highest ranking people within the Hyuga clan? Your father has good eyes, but they are still capable of fooling him. He has too much faith in the whole nonsense about the purity of blood. And even if he did choose to believe me over their lies, how would he punish them? If things came to the tribunal, who do you think would be believed anyway? There never was any proof, and any branch member who could testify simply disappeared. Hinata's eyes went open in shock. Yeah, not all the disappearances were my work. They were always careful not to leave traces behind. Akko was not the first branch member who I saved, Naruto sighed. But she was too close to me, and they were too afraid that I would get involved. After all, the Kyuubi is a powerful asset to Konoha, and the Hyuga clan no doubt gains a lot of prestige by having me around as their honored guest. As that, you once told me that K-killing was inevitable for shinobi, Hinata remarked. Was that because? Because we live in a world where we either kill or are killed, Naruto said calmly, his voice devoid of emotion. The chakra of the Kyuubi changed me, in such a way that I could sense the darkness in the hearts of others. Because of that, it was easy to see that some people deserve to be killed. He left unspoken that it was also his reason why he thought some people should not be killed, why he felt that he would protect Hinata, no matter what. Because, for all the darkness he felt, she was completely different. Radiant and clear like a diamond. It's almost as if she is the exact opposite of hatred, Naruto mused. Do you really think I could be a good clan leader? Hinata asked shyly, almost begging for his approval, after being silent for a little while. Of course I do. I told you before that you should not doubt yourself so much. But your doubt also means that you are not blinded like most of your clan, with their pride, their greed, and their traditions. Naruto almost spat out that last word. You would be able to lead your clan onto a new path, one that leads away from the curse it now suffers under. But he could see Hinata was not convinced. Not that he could blame her. She always heard from others that she was a failure, and therefore never had much confidence in herself. Only her mother had supported her. But not even Hitomi could change the opinion of her clan by herself. Haruki, even though he knew he was already dying, was willing to throw away the time he had left, to save you. He believed in you, Hinata-sama, so much that he bet his life on it. He did. Hinata asks, her eyes wide in shock. When he found out that it was me who was behind the killings, he never stopped me. He knew all too well that they tried to hurt you because they could not touch your mother. When he found out, he even trained me so that I would be better able to hide myself. He was a member of the branch family, and he despised the system within the Hyuga clan, Naruto explained. If you want to honor his sacrifice, help your mother to change your clan. Confused as she was, Hinata only nodded, not knowing what to say. Her whole world had revolved around the idea that the Hyuga clan was the image of perfection, and that she was a failure unworthy of them. Now she heard her clan was wrong, and that she was right. Naruto could not blame her for feeling confused. He had spent virtually the entire time thinking, and had reread Haruki's letter several times. I never really understood the situation. I merely killed those who tried to kill Hinata, not thinking about the consequences. But this whole situation, Haruki is right, killing more people will not end the cycle. Even if I became the Hokage, it would still be impossible to completely remove this curse. Damn it. Why does this stuff always have to be so complicated? First the whole Gaara thing, and now this. Naruto sighed, thinking that things would only become even more difficult when he would become Hokage. Things were so much simpler when a problem could be solved by ripping out someone's throat. After finally having been able to sleep for a while, Naruto quickly grew restless. Chakra exhaustion, even if it had brought him too close to his death, was not that difficult to recover from. Not if your name is Uzumaki Naruto, at least. The new things he had learned about the Hyuga had troubled him though. He still second-guessed his decision to tell Hinata. Yet he believed she had to know. After all, He knew all too well that it would only be dangerous to not know one's surroundings. Besides, before she left, he had urged her only to talk about this with her mother, and no one else. But while his brain told him it was a good decision, his heart said something different. Naruto felt guilty to have burdened Hinata. No, not just guilty, he wanted to get that burden off her shoulders, but he knew he could not. Even worse, if he had kept it a secret from her, it would only have been a sign that he did not take her seriously. But seeing her with that expression, it felt wrong to him. Her physical strength may not be enough to endure her clan's troubles yet, but she has a strong will, Naruto tried to tell himself. Yes, he knew she was capable enough. Despite her doubts and oddly shy behavior, he had seen her determination a few times now. And she has Hitomi-sama to guide her. Sneaking out of the hospital, he was almost surprised to see Jiraiya stand in front of him. I figured you would sneak out by now, the white-haired man chuckled. No, you didn't, Naruto smirked. When he saw Jiraiya's frown, Naruto's smirk widened. You should hide your seals better, old man. Jiraiya was a little surprised that Naruto had so easily spotted the seals he had left behind. How did you? You were the one to teach me the basics, right? I simply knew where to look, at the place where I would leave such seals, Naruto said. How's Jii-san doing? Well enough, for now, Jiraiya said softly, not wanting to be heard by unwanted ears. But I hurried over because I needed you to come with me to check up on Gaara's seal. You were the one who made it, after all. What is going on here? Jiraiya frowned, when he saw people arguing in front of the prison building in which Gaara and his siblings were temporarily lodged. Jiraiya-sama, the guard bowed. Danzo-sama wishes to see the Jinchuriki from Sunagaku, he revealed. It is well within my right as an elder of Konohagakure to inspect and assess any threat, the seemingly frail old man said, with more than a little annoyance. We need to know if the creature is dangerous or not, before we can make decisions. Right, Jiraiya said dryly. He did not like the interest that Danzo had already shown in the three children from the former cage. Jiraiya had already denied him access to the former cage's corpse, and now he was here again, despite the direct orders of the Hokage. I thought you were informed about the orders Hokage-sama handed out regarding our three special prisoners. The visible part of Danzo's face twitched. Apart from Sensei himself, only Ibiki, myself, and Naruto are permitted to see them. Tisk, you mean that thing has more rights than a council elder? Danzo scoffed. Uzumaki Naruto is the one who defeated the Ikibi and reinforced the seal placed on Sabaku no Gaara, Jiraiya said, but now without the pretense of being friendly. If you had not been hiding yourself during the invasion, you would have seen that too, he added dismissively. The two guards stepped forward, but Danzo signaled them to stay back. Very well, I will take my leave, for now. But Suna will pay for what it did to Konoha, Danzo proclaimed as he turned and strode off. Ugh. Troublesome old goat, Jiraiya mumbled. Naruto looked up and frowned. Who was that guy? Shimura Danzo. One of the three elders in the Konoha Council, so he has a lot of influence. He claims he would do anything to defend Konoha, but I would not trust him too much. There are too many suspicious things with hints of his involvement, Jiraiya warned him. But that isn't of much importance now. Once this mess is over, I'll take you out of Konoha and train you properly. So, another unpleasant guy the first have got to avoid, Naruto decided, not knowing what more to say about this. Leaving Konohagakure was not exactly a punishment for him, but he did not want to leave his newfound friends behind. Especially now that he knew the full extent of the danger that Hinata was in. Uzumaki-san, Gaara bowed slightly when he saw Naruto and Jiraiya entering. How is your seal holding? Naruto smiled. He could already see that Gaara had caught up with sleeping. He didn't look nearly as exhausted as when he first saw him. Looking around, Naruto saw that their rooms, although equipped with bars and locks, were much more comfortable than an ordinary prison cell. Jiraiya had told him that they would be treated with the honor they deserved. It seems to work just fine, Gaara said calmly. You can say that again, Tamari smiled. He slept nearly 2 days. Sleeping was a bit problematic, Gaara admitted, his face still completely neutral. I heard that Shukaku ate the souls of its Jinchuriki when they sleep, Jiraiya frowned. I can't imagine what that must be like. Tiring. Gaara deadpanned. Right. Might we see your seal? Jiraiya questioned. Like I said yesterday, we wanted to come and check up on it. I thought you were an expert on fuinjutsu. Temari frowned. And you looked yesterday. Yeah, seems like little Naruto over here had spent some time on tweaking seals, Jiraiya laughed. I've never seen such an odd thing. I can guarantee its strength though, he added before Temari could react. Not having to boil you first makes things easier. Naruto smirked at Gaara, who raised a brow. Seemed like it worked out fine. Look, I used the evil sealing method as the basis, inverted those corners here and here, and then mixed it with the design of a chakra storage seal, he explained to an attentive Jiraiya. Mixed it? The latter frowned. But how? Chakra storage seals have the same basic function, right? Only they have a built-in function to easily release the chakra they contain. I removed that, and reinforced the design with the barriers from the evil sealing method, Naruto explained, as if it was completely obvious. Temari looked at Kankuro, who just shrugged in response. Neither of them had any clue what this was about. So, it works then? Temari questioned. It was the strongest thing I could come up with in 1 month of time, Naruto said with an apologetic tone. Especially when you know that I hadn't been in Konoha for most of that month either. So, I've got no idea how long it'll last, but I used the Kyuubi's chakra so it should be pretty durable. Jiraiya sighed. It is durable, that's for sure. But that also means Gaara has no access to the Ikibi's chakra. That's good, right? Naruto shrugged. I thought that was the point of this whole thing. Not necessarily. Both of you, as Jinchuriki, wield amounts of chakra that normal people can hardly fathom. I'd say that the chakra of the Biju sealed inside the two of you also give you great opportunities, if you use it correctly. As a weapon, Gaara said coldly, guessing Jiraiya would make the same argument as his late father. No, not like a weapon, Jiraiya paled, having heard how the former Kazekage had treated his own son, as he had read the reports of their interrogations. I would say, as extraordinary shinobi. So the seal must be removed then. Naruto frowned. That's going to be a pain. Jiraiya chuckled. No, not removed, but altered. And considering that you were the one who made the seal, you should also be the one to alter it. Oh, or it'll weaken due to the different kinds of chakra that are used to construct the seal, Naruto added, seeing Gaara's questioning look. But how? Well, Jiraiya hesitated. There is one thing that I never taught you. One subject I did not give you the scrolls on either. You see. Keys. Naruto cut him off. I've never found them in the texts, even though there were references to it, he explained. I did not give you because I feared you would start to mess with your own seal, Jiraiya apologized. And, considering how I'd rather not blow up Konoha. At least not when I'm not around. Some idiots here deserve being blown to oblivion, he chuckled darkly. The two of them looked at the Sand siblings. Then Gaara has to stay for a while longer, Jiraiya added. At least until Naruto is able to build a keyhole into his new seal. What? Kankuro did not like the idea of being imprisoned that long. Well, it's either that or waiting until the Ikibi accumulated enough chakra to blow up the seal, Naruto frowned. And Gaara along with it. Don't worry though, because the Ikibi is sealed off completely, it won't be able to gather chakra that fast, Jiraiya added, seeing their faces. That was enough to convince them. A while later, Naruto and Jiraiya left the prison building, but not until after Jiraiya had made Ibiki swear an oath to not let anyone else meet with the 3 children of the late Kazekage. It would take him a few days to arrange for a new place where the 3 could live. Gaara seems quite different, don't you think? Jiraiya smiled, after they had been silently walking through Konoha for a while. You can say that again, Naruto chuckled. I'm glad I did not kill him. Jiraiya patted the boy on his head. So am I, kiddo, so am I. He smiled, thinking on how surprised Kankuro and Temari had been about Gaara's change in behavior. It seemed like Naruto had really struck a nerve with the kid. And not surprising either, considering how similar they were. Though perhaps not related in blood, they certainly were brothers in a different sense, as they both carried the same kind of burdens. Who knows? Sabaku no Gaara has the potential to get an important function in Sunagaku. Perhaps even serve as cage, if the people there can let go of their irrational fears. His bond with Naruto could be quite beneficial for Konoha too, not even mentioning how much it could do for the squirt himself. Just before the two of them arrived at the Hyuga complex, they were approached by an Anbu shinobi. Ah, yes, I forgot to mention, Jiraiya quickly said. With all the things you have done lately, I guessed it would be wise to assign you a guard. You mean Konoha thinks the Kyuubi needs to be better guarded? Naruto frowned, somewhat surprised that this came up. No, nothing like that. Jiraiya put up his hands in defense. No, I just wanted to make sure no one attacked you, because of some illogical fear. Besides, Hyuga Hitomi more or less ordered me to increase your security. Apparently, you've been messing around in their clan's politics, not that she shared many details. Naruto nodded. I'll explain that later. So who is this guy? Let's just call him Yamato, Jiraiya suggested. He's one of the elite within the Anbu. I picked him myself, because of his skill, and also because I know I can trust him. Unless you disagree, of course, he added, knowing all too well that Naruto had better senses when it came to seeing through people. Well, not that Jiraiya doubted himself. His people skills were pretty awesome. In his own opinion, of course. Yamato nodded, and bowed to Jiraiya. His face was hidden behind a mask that resembled a cat's face, he had brown hair, and wore the standard Anbu attire. Yet something was off about him. Naruto felt that this guy was not a pushover like most of the Anbu. Well, Naruto knew it was a little unfair to compare others to himself. By now, even many of the Jonin did not have the chakra to stand on equal footing with him, though he knew their control was superior to his own. Hitomi-sama said that Yamato could stay in an empty cottage near your own, Jiraiya explained. Though I expect him to stay on guard tonight, as many will think you're still weakened, and perhaps will try to exploit that. Yes, Jiraiya-sama, Yamato accepted his orders. Naruto sighed and shrugged. He just wanted to go home, to see Akko, Chi, and perhaps even Hinata or Hitomi. They would have enough to talk about. However, Naruto was not looking forward to the burial tomorrow. After her conversation with Naruto, Hinata had spent a lot of time thinking about her clan, her position within it, and about herself. What did she want to do? Up until now she had struggled to gain her father's, and her clan's, acceptance. She wanted to prove that she was not a failure, but she was turned down at every opportunity. But suddenly, her life got turned upside down. The killings which had shocked her clan were committed by Naruto, and now even her father had said he would not blame Naruto, and stated that those who had been killed were traitors to the clan. Naruto had been the one who killed those who wanted to assassinate her, and now Naruto had revealed why. The idea that people expected so much from her terrified her. To be sure, she resented the way many of the main house mistreated the branch. But even though she would not do such a thing herself, it had been normal to see it done by others. After all, this was the environment in which she had grown up. Too occupied with the idea of needing to change to fit in the clan, she now heard that she was the one who should change the clan to fit her. If anyone other than Naruto had said that to her, she would have thought it was just some kind of sick joke, but it was not. While telling her mother what she had learned, Hinata could see her story confirmed merely by looking at her mother's face. Though usually carefully controlled, Hitomi's expression had ranged from sadness and guilt to irritation and determination. I must apologize, Hitomi started, after Hinata had finished talking. She sighed. I should have told you sooner. Well, not about the things Naruto-kun has done for you, as even I had only suspicions and did not know for sure. But I should have told you about the dangers within our clan. Hitomi sighed. There are groups within our clan who only strive to keep things as they are. They are clinging onto the idea of conservatism, and fear anything that might endanger their position. Hitomi shook her head in distaste. They refuse to see how wrong the current system is, where our follow clan members are exploited merely because they were born in the branch family rather than the main family. But mother, if you think it is wrong, why didn't you? Such strong traditions are difficult to change, Hitomi grimaced a little. Every step forward created more resistance. And when I found out they had begun to target you, I was forced to hide my efforts. My cousin Haruki made a lot of progress, for instance by uncovering much of our clan's history, but I had but few people who supported me. Even your father is not willing to see the truth. Naruto-kun said the Hyuga clan was blinded. Hinata frowned. He is right. Even your father is too accustomed to the current situation to see how much suffering the clan's laws cause. But even if he had another opinion, he would still be reined in by the elder council of our clan. And those 5 old goats would never allow any change to happen that would endanger their own wealth and power. But they always say that the clan is the most important. Yes, they do, Hitomi smiled. But their actions do not align with their words. I suppose I will now start to teach you on the more advanced topics. Hinata's eyes widened. She knew very well her mother was no master when it came to the Juken fighting style, but her skill with the Byakugan was unsurpassed within their clan. I should have done this earlier, Hitomi continued with an apologetic tone. But, this knowledge you now have gained, and all the things I will need to teach you, they will only increase the danger I put you in. I wanted you be free from worries, and give you the carefree childhood that any mother wants to give her child. But my desire to shield you may have only created more danger for you. I wanted to protect you, even though I knew. It's all right, mother, Hinata said, a bit startled by the doubt her mother now showed. Hitomi had always been a bastion of self-assurance, to which the young girl had been able to cling as she doubted herself. To Hinata, it seemed as if all the fixed values in her world had suddenly shifted. She longed for another mission outside Konoha. Just her, Kiba, Akamaru, Kurenai-sensei, and most importantly, Naruto. Perhaps she'd even manage to eat at Ichiraku's with him again. She still felt shaky whenever she thought back at the last time. It had almost been like a date. But first, she had to figure out what her mother wanted to teach her. With all the casualties from the invasion, the cemetery had become a busy place. Many families and friends mourned the loss of a loved one, and most of the time at least one burial was taking place. Naruto was thankful that the Hyuga possessed their own private section on the cemetery. Actually, Naruto wanted to be alone, yet he knew he could not be alone right now. He was glad amongst friends, though. Besides him, Akko, Chi, and 2 other branch members were present. Both of them were related to Haruki, and Naruto recognized one of them as the woman he often had helped taking care of the gardens. On behalf of the main family, Hitomi and Hinata had come. For the first time, Naruto saw the grave of Hyuga Minako, as Haruki would be buried next to his beloved. It still saddened Naruto that he had never asked more about Haruki's personal life. But Naruto had been too occupied with his own troubles, let alone knowing how to talk about emotions. He silently thanked Haruki for all his hard work, because he believed that without the efforts of his guardian, he would have been a vastly different person. Impatient, naive, and most likely even rude and ignorant. Naruto barely noticed that all the others had passed Haruki's chest and photo, and were looking at Naruto to say his goodbye. Walking had never been so difficult. His throat felt too dry, and his eyes itched from the tears that wanted to break out. But he would not cry. For Haruki, he would show his restraint. For years, this man had taken care of him. For years, this man had guided and taught him. And now was the last time, the last farewell. Are you all right, Two-Leg? Chi quietly sat down next to Naruto. He had gone to the forest of death again, to have some time alone. But after he had been gone a few hours, Chi had become worried. I'm fine, Naruto sighed. Well, I should be. Haruki. He knew he would die. He did not want me to be sad about it. That's not true, Chi corrected him softly. He would never forbid you to have emotions. He would be happy that you cared so much about him, and still do. Perhaps, Naruto said, wiping away a tear. Maybe this pain is a consequence of losing those you love. Endure it. Cherish the memories you had with him. I know, Naruto sighed. I know feeling nothing at all is even worse. Thanks, Chi. You're welcome, Chi purred as the pushed her head against his arm, begging to be petted. After a while, Naruto seemed to become a bit livelier. I must ask you something, Chi. Yes. Whenever I'm not around, can you promise me to look after Hinata? Chi looked up, curious that he asks. Naruto never asked for help ever. He always tried to do things alone. What could be enough for him to ask for help? Is she in that much danger? Naruto simply nodded. I'll let you read Haruki's last letter when we get back. She did not like being pinned down by some random promise. She did have bad experiences with contracts, after all, but she felt like she had no choice in this matter. Her failure to beat the gray-hair two-leg had led to Haruki's demise. So in a sense, it now was her responsibility to look after the person he had sacrificed himself for. And she had learned to take her responsibilities seriously, in the past. I promise, Chi nodded. Thanks Chi. Naruto sighed, relieved as he knew he would likely have to leave Konoha soon. By the way, you're aware that the masked two-leg is near, right? That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe for the next video as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists. Hope you would like them too.